Wamama hoye! We are going to invest money in Eldoret new KCC, 500 million. Bought instant milk. I'm looking forward to women taking charge of the coolers we are going to bring. We have 650 coolers coming. We will distribute. Uasin Gishu alone will get about 25 coolers.
Cooperative CEC in Uasin Gishu County, Martha Cheruta, said that the county government has prioritized women's issues so as to empower them.
The national government and county government are going to work together to ensure sustainable development as enshrined in bottom-up economic transformation agenda. We're going to be having many more exhibition and trade fairs within the country and within the country that we're going to be taking our SMEs to access the other markets.
And Bungoma woman representative Catherine Wamblianga has raised concerns over the increase in cases of teen pregnancies in the county. She says the situation is worse in Mount Elgon constituency, where more than 30 students of Chesikaki Primary School are among the children who were impregnated.
Kama wazazi, wacha tukae nyumbani tuongee na watoto wetu. Tusaidiane kama community. Kuna shule moja hapa Bungoma ina ward called Chesikaki. Watoto zaidi ya 38 wamepata mimba safari moja. Tukiongea hii mambo ya uchumi, hata kule bungeni unapopita wanakuambia hiyo shule imepata watoto 38. There was a time in 2014 we had over 60 girls in Mount Elgon getting pregnant almost in one school.
Ombilenga is advising parents to be close to their children during these long holiday, saying such cases may increase if parents are not close to them.
Kama wazazi sasa watoto wamefunga, wacha tuketi chini na watoto wetu, tunaomanezani na watoto wetu, vijana kwa wasichana, kwa sababu hii problem si ya msichana peke yake, lazima awe na mwenzake. Tuongee nao kama wazazi, tuwalete pamoja jinsi sasa kama saizi wamefunga mashule. Tusipoongea na watoto wetu, ili janga na mimba za mapema inaenda kuathiri mtoto.
The same sentiments have been shared by Bungoma Deputy Governor Jennifer Mbatiany.
Responsibility ya mzazi ni kuhakikisha wakati huu wa likizo mtoto wake ako safe, mtoto wake ako protected. Lazima tuwe very keen. Ujue mtoto wako ako wapi, kwa wakati gani, anafanya nini na ako na nani. Tunataka kwanza tuulizane sisi kama wazazi. Sisi tunafanya nini kuhakikisha kwamba watoto wetu hawapati mimba za mapema.
Mbatiany has added that the Bungoma County government has started a plan to distribute sanitary towels as one of the ways to deal with the situation, after research showed that many girls get involved due to poverty, which makes them lack this basic equipment.
Sisi katika kaunti yetu ya Bungoma kupitia department ya gender, kuna mambo mengi wamejaribu kufanya kama department, haswa sana kuwafikia wasichana, kujaribu kuhamasisha, lakini still unaona tu visa bado vinaendelea. Ofisi ya governor wetu Lusaka, kuna mambo pia tumejaribu kufanya mentorship. Tumejaribu hata kutafuta sanitary towels, kwa sababu tulikuwa tunasikia hiyo ni sababu moja wasichana wanapata mimba.
Still on matters of education, and Education Cabinet Secretary Ezekiel Machogo says that the ongoing KCSE exams will continue scheduled Monday, despite the day being declared a public holiday. In a statement, the Education CS said all members of the multi-agency examinations administration groups should report to duty on time to ensure all the activities of the day are well executed as scheduled. In a Gazette notice, Interior CS Professor Kithure Kindiki said President William Ruto will lead the country in the tree growing exercise in line with his administration's ambitious plan of growing 10 billion trees. And Kenyan sprinter Mark Otieno says he is ready to make up for the lost time in the coming season at the Paris Olympics set for 2024. Otieno was suspended after testing positive for the prohibited anabolic steroid methasterone in 2021 at Tokyo Olympics, just hours before competing in the 100 meters heats. Otieno also talked about his competition with Africa's fastest man Ferdinand Omanyala, saying he is relishing a contest with him, but was quick to add they will work as a team while representing Kenya. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on Spice FM.
Congratulations. You've seen the hand of the Lord.
Thank you very much. I've earned another title today this morning at Spice FM. Mama Justice, I don't mind it.
Joel in Kericho.
Salama sana Heri, habari ya asubuhi.
Salama bwana, mambo namna gani?
Salama kabisa bro.
Mambo ya Inamoi kuliendaje?
Mambo ya Inamoi, vile nilikwambia ndugu yangu, alienda asubuhi na ile gari ya kwanza.
I must have missed it.
So did I.
Even if somebody was to render you irrelevant, there is still work you can do.
Okay, sawa.
I deserve to keep you accountable. You deserve to give me a report. You don't work for me. No, I don't work for you. You work for me.
Do you like that Freudian slip? Lovely, isn't it? Thank you very much.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
If a lion shows you its teeth, it doesn't mean it likes you.
It doesn't mean it likes you. It won't start. A liar calls as witness one who is either dead or far away. Say it in Kiswahili.
Benlo nin inte yenin der ayu markati kadikta. You know this character called liar. He has disturbed people. So when you tell him who are your witnesses, he will take you to a place where it is difficult to verify.
For someone like me who sweats a lot, I cannot survive there. Sweating is biblical. Good. And you must blame it on Adam, not me. Because Adam messed up and he was told, now you fellow you, by the sweat of your brow, thou shalt eat.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Good morning. Another morning of a drizzle here and there. It's Wednesday into the middle of the week and traffic has already begun on Jogoro this morning. And we're looking at some of it coming off a thicker superhighway. Nothing too alarming right about now. It is likely to be a busy day. There's pools of water in lots of places this morning. So right off before traffic even starts, please be careful. Don't get into one that you're not sure of at all. All right, Uhuru Highway is already starting to look busy at the junctions. Nothing much coming out of Westlands. Not for now, but we're going to be here to see how that all opens up as we get into Wednesday morning. Let's talk on Spice FM KE on X and keep things moving on Wednesday.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
It's 8 minutes past 6 o'clock on this Wednesday morning. It's the 8th of February. Did I say February? My goodness. It's the 8th of November. I guess 8th of February just sounds nice. It's the 8th of November. There's a little bit of a drizzle here and there and welcoming you into Wednesday morning. How are you doing? I do hope all is well with you wherever you are waking up today, here in Kenya or around the world. Thank you for being our great part of the show as we get into it. I'm a lone ranger for a few minutes. I'm looking for these two gentlemen, looking for my journey. I don't know if they're on their way, but actually, yes, they are. They'll be here in a minute. Before we get into it, and we say hello to all of you, let's talk about some of the things that we'll be talking about today. There's hullabaloo, there are questions, things happening, questions being thrown left, right, and center in terms of what's going on next week, Monday. Public holiday has been declared where everybody has been asked to come out and plant trees. There's a goal of 15 billion, and 15 billion is the number that we want to say trees will be planted in Kenya over the next, so many years. And so to kick this off, a public holiday has been instituted. Now, the Cabinet Secretary in the Ministry of Environment, Natural Resources, CS Soipantuya, will be with us this morning from 7 a.m. And so it's environment, climate change, and forestry. Those are some of the things we'll be looking at. Kenya's national tree growing exercise and climate action priorities. What are the priorities for Kenya as we look into what the climate situation will look like? We'll run up to COP28 and also what the landscape does look like for Kenya in the coming months. So Monday's that day. It's kind of like environmental sanitation, where now what we're doing is declaring a public holiday, so everybody's supposed to come out and plant trees. How this is supposed to work, I'm not quite sure, but we'll look at details of that as we get into it. Many things we'll be discussing with her as she's here this morning, and so we'll be able to get into that, plus what the ministry has in store for the country moving through towards climate matters. I know. I'm looking for them too. And they'll be here with us in a minute. So those are the conversations we'll be having this morning. And as we look into that, we'll see what else pops up for us today, right? So we'll look at the headlines as well in a short while. And also have a look at what we're being told is the gloomy state of the nation. Is it gloomy? Is the sun not shining? We have been told that even after the storm, at some point, the sun will actually shine. Dixon is asking me why I'm the first one. They're here, Mama. Don't worry. They'll be here with us in just a minute. And one of them has arrived. Zia. Good morning, Eric. You just want to look at me. You're even thinking, do you see problems this morning? Anyway, okay. Good morning.
Why are you talking to yourself?
It's the first sign of madness. Have you not heard?
Yours is like the fourth.
It's the fourth sign.
Hey.
Oh, okay. I hear you.
How you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
Why didn't you do traffic, or was it weather?
I did.
Did you?
I did. I've even told everybody what we'll be talking about today. Yep.
Sheesh.
Yeah.
So you've done everything?
Everything.
So we can just go now?
I'm just, as in go home, or like away,
or
like go on to the next thing.
It's the show. You've done everything. You've done weather, you've done traffic.
I've not done weather yet.
The headlines.
Yeah.
You've said hi to people.
No, bado. Hizo vitu wasitufanya bado.
Yeah?
Nope.
Allah? Hiyo ndio hujafanya bado? So you too?
Niko nangoja tuwasalimia.
Oh.
Yeah.
So we can do weather and then you do like that?
No.
Okay.
Why not?
Okay. Ni sawa basi. Kila mtu, good morning. How are you doing? On this Wednesday, the 8th of November, 2023, tunakunywa chai masaa ya asubuhi. Chai kweli na Dairy Best. Wale ambao hawajui. That's why we were late, because we hate chai, my friend.
Tamu, you couldn't get away from it. Okay.
Hey.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Cloudy conditions and a bit of a drizzle in Nairobi, 17 degrees. We'll see highs of 22 and lows of 15. It's cloudy at 14 in Nakuru with highs of 22, and looking into a cloudy and drizzly in Nyeri, highs of 22 and lows of 15. It's partly cloudy at 14 in Eldoret with highs of 22, and looking into a partly cloudy Mombasa at 25. We'll see highs of 30 and lows of 24. Malindi is cloudy at 26 with highs of 29 and lows of 25. Looking into a mostly clear Kisumu for now at 19 degrees through the day. We'll see highs of 27 and lows of 19. It's partly cloudy in Kakamega at 17 with highs of 25 and lows of 15. Looking out to Kampala, it is clear after a day and night of rain at 18, highs of 27. And Dar es Salaam already sunny at 25 with highs of 30 and lows of 24. Into a clear Johannesburg at 10. We'll see highs of 24 and lows of 10, while Mogadishu is cloudy at 24, highs of 32, and it's 11 degrees and clear in Addis Ababa with highs of 22. Lagos is clear at 25 with highs of 31, back down to lows of 25, and we'll see mostly cloudy conditions at 24 in Kinshasa with highs of 31. Wednesday afternoon is sunny at 11 in Beijing. We'll see highs of 14 and lows of 4. Paris cloudy at 8, and London is cloudy at 8 as well. And we'll round things off in New York, where it's clear Tuesday night at 13 with highs of 20 and lows of 6.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM.
Yes, please.
Habari ya leo?
Mzuri sana. It's very cool weather.
It's cool weather.
Very pleasantly cool, yes.
Not hot.
No, not even
Not
cold.
cold.
No.
Cool.
Actually very cool. It's very, very pleasant.
So, it's just about 16 degrees out there.
Something of that sort, yes.
Wanna buy? Higher. Who's online, do?
Everybody, it would appear. Good morning, CT, Eric, and Ndu, and Edna. Ndu is a ladies' day. Huh?
Learn Wednesday.
Okay. I'm supposed to ask CT to Chaka Chamawa, meaning next year, and Eric to say Chaka Chava.
This guy, boy.
I'm telling you, Sasa.
Ati? Chaka Chamawa.
Chaka Chamawa, CT.
I remember him saying Mawa was tomorrow, was it?
Next.
Yesterday he said Mawa was what? Yes, it was tomorrow.
That's Julieta.
Because we were saying Mawa.
Next is the day after.
Okay, so Chaka who?
Chaka.
And Chaka is year.
Wait. Okay, so he's saying Chaka Chamawa is next year.
Okay, so Chaka Chamawa.
So Chaka is year.
And Mawa is
next.
Is tomorrow.
So Chaka Chava is last year. Zikomo.
Okay.
Is what?
All right.
Thank
you.
Akiki says, good morning. Our trio tuned in from Fort Portal in Uganda. Have a beautiful day to you too. Good morning, y'all. Happy hump day to you and blessings upon you. 3 wonderful people. Satsana to you too as well. Good morning, Miss Ndu. Let's play for Mr. Ibu. It's true, actually. You know the famous actor, right? Mr. Ibu. Very sick. Had his leg amputated, unfortunately, yesterday.
Which Mr. Ibu?
Okay. Which James Bond movie did you act?
James Bond from Nollywood. If I show you his picture, you'll know what I'm talking
about.
What
role? You've probably seen him, but what role has he played that? What's his character role?
He's a comedian.
He's the funny guy.
He plays with the two brief gentlemen. I'm trying to say short.
Yeah, the 2 short brothers.
Yeah.
Are they brothers, those guys?
No, they're not.
They're not brothers?
No, they're not.
And they look alike.
They do.
Nani, this story of 2 short people must look alike. Okay?
I thought so.
John Okafor,
This gentleman I have seen.
You have,
actually, he had his leg amputated.
Yeah, he's unwell. He's been really unwell for the last few weeks, and they're saying he may not make it. So.
Oh no!
Yeah. So, let's see. Yeah. He's not doing so well right now. Yeah.
Oh no.
Heartwarming to see that the entire, Nollywood fraternity really standing behind him right now. But, he's been in a bad way for a couple of months. So they're saying they do not know what it's going to look like in the next few weeks.
What is it that brought about the amputation? What was the underlying?
He's diabetic. Yeah. And gone, untreated, severe symptoms for the last, coupled with a number of other things as well. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So prayers up for him for sure. Toti Bishop says, top of the morning. I'm from React Hills. Even Nabi has given up on fuel prices. Woo-wee. Yeah, it's a Wololo situation. Good morning, Eric Ndusi. Tuned in from Utawala, listening to the most mature breakfast show. Thank you so much, Karibu Sana. Tuned in from Inverness via Edinburgh. I'm dreading the cold weather in Scotland. Have a great day, says Sir George Gashoiri. You moved from Manchester. Now you're in Edinburgh.
Actually, he does have a point. You know, when you talk about that place he just mentioned, we don't know what cold is here.
Inverness, yeah.
Here, we're just joking with the cold.
No, this is not cold.
No.
The kind of glass cutting through your skin cold. Guten Morgen, my people, tuning in as usual from München in Bavaria, Bayern, that's in Germany, and that's Linus Rainman. Josegi says, good morning, good people, watching from Meru, rain galore. Yes, it is an unofficial holiday here in Meru, really, as we await with confidence the removal of Kawera from office by Senate. My goodness.
People are just watching.
Senate proceedings yesterday were crazy. The impeachment proceedings.
Okay.
Her counsel is very interesting to watch. Buenos dias, dos señores, señorita. Alex Mnai says good morning to you. Nawatakieni siku njema. So good morning, good morning. Robert Tibogo says good morning, tuning from Mombasa. Zachary Odira says good morning, tuning from Mombasa as well. Tuned in from Port Victoria. Ndu, what's the difference between Eze Noah and Igwe? Eze is king. Igwe is chief. Okay? Eze Ndize.
And Oga is who?
Oga is boss. You are Oga. You are Oga. Oga is the male guy in Yoruba.
King again, you said is what?
Eze in Igbo. Eze is king.
And
Eze and Igwe are Igbo words. Oga is Yoruba.
So Igwe is?
Chief.
Shivo.
Chief, like the, the renowned one. Jules says Koru is doing all right. It rained all night. Eddie Odor is still MIA. It is true. Eddie, where are you? He says, but Koru is okay. Monkeys and all.
It's actually raining. Cats and dogs there.
Properly.
No.
In Koru.
That is it.
Yes.
So Onger sasa nakula nini?
Onger bana inataka ifungwe kwa sengenge.
Sengenge.
Onger baba.
Onger suya wenda. Greetings from Melbourne, says Mwangi. They said they have a holiday today. Even as ours is coming on Monday. And Bosira says, good morning, have a great day. Rachel Kano, bonjour, Ndu. Eric ACT, je vous regarde l'Europe. It's for, je vous adore, bisous, bisous. Bisous, bisous, Rachel. Bisous, bisous to you from Rachel. Okay?
Bisous?
Bisous.
Okay.
Air kisses.
That's what they are?
Yes, bisous is kiss in French.
Oh, okay.
Yeah?
So they've been directed at us?
Yeah.
Have you taken yours?
I've taken. Thank you. Good morning, the A-team. Have a beautiful day ahead. Mugwe Wanaina says he's tuned in, listening in from Roiro. Hamjambo Ndu Eric and CT, says Francis Kivindu. How about you bring the Treasury guys to shed more light on the allegations by Jimmy about our debts and Senior Mue na siku ya kufana? What's that? Siku ya kufana?
It's a good day.
Okay, so John Minor says that his hands are tied on fuel prices. Yeah. Good morning, tuning in from South Korea. Good morning to everybody in Kenya. Kisha government formed on a bed of lies and propaganda. George Biketi tuning from Mombasa. So George says he's not moved from Manchester, but he's traveling for work purposes. Oh, we understand now. Moses Kioka ameamka leo asubuhi amesema, sina nguvu tena bana.
Kwa nini?
Ana nguvu. He's in Gong, lakini hana nguvu.
Hana nguvu. Pole Moses.
Gumu hii maisha. Salim Koske is tuning in this morning, and Peter Kavoy says, good morning. CT would have thought K sera. Whatever will be, will be.
Okay. Bwana Muga.
Yes, please.
The proverb.
Yes. From Congo Brazza.
Ville.
What do you call the people from Congo?
Congolese.
Bakongo.
Oh, like the, okay.
Congolese, yes, actually, that's what. But you know that when you say Congolese, even DRC is in the mix, eh?
Yeah, so it's a group of people spread across the
Yeah, but you've got it there, Bakongo.
Yeah.
Term is supposed to originate from the word hunter. Not that it translated. I'm translating hunter. Okay?
Bakongo are hunters.
Yes.
Okay.
Originally. Yes. Okay. Just like you could say that my kith and kin, historically, were fishermen. I clearly am not what you would call a typical fisherman. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So in some ways, you could say I'm a fisher of men.
It is true.
You're the fish.
Wow.
Okay.
Ignore him.
Yeah, I'm not going to say what I want to think. Okay. I'm just going to read the a cow with milk does not lack someone to milk it.
Oh, a cow. Okay.
Cow.
A cow with milk.
Cow is in Nagombe.
Does not lack someone to
milk it.
Ati wewe usipokuja hakuna mtoto.
Kindiliti mwenzako tandownloadi. Haya, headline tafadhali. Uko na hiyo gazeti?
Bro, I didn't get gazette.
I don't know what's happening.
Si wewe peke yako.
In the two places I went, you see there's one place one where you get, then place two. Didn't get. In fact, place two had nothing.
Even our guys here, they have not gotten.
Anyway, let's we live in perpetual hope.
That's it too.
But nonetheless, we have headlines.
There are very many headlines. In fact, the ones that will do you a proper annoyance, let me tell you. Gloomy state of the nation is what the Standard is reporting on the front page as the president faces a nation drained by the high cost of living in his second annual State of the Nation address tomorrow. Kenyans expect that even as he highlights achievements of his 14-month-old administration, he will list concrete steps to make their lives better.
Okay.
That's what Kenyans expect. So,
yes.
Be expecting.
Better.
The case against Kawira Mwangaza to impeach or not, it enters into its second and final day today in terms of, the proceedings and hearings, and then Senate will retreat and come back with a verdict.
That time is not sufficient.
2 days, I don't think is.
For this matter, it is not.
It isn't.
It's not.
Ruto advisor in the name of one David Ndidi takes on the industry mano el mano and wants to tell them, look here. Let me tell you, you will see. I'll give you the details of that. US-based man fights with his wife over his child. Okay. Why school heads want extra cash? Now, you guys, I have to tell you in advance, I already have a headache.
Because?
The story that I'll share with you about education and what is likely to happen, what is going to happen, not likely, in January 2024 is doing me a solid pressure.
Pole.
Why school heads want extra cash, fights and theft rule Kenya's crime world. And there's a lot more, but that's what it looks like now. Big fight for 684 million shilling rare mask. Mask as in ile ya kufunika uso.
It's a rare one.
Apparently.
What? How much?
684 million shillings.
It's just a face mask.
Yani, apparently it's cultural, it's ancient, vintage, those things.
It's one of those.
It's one of those.
Oh, it's one of those.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
So
I went through that process of thinking and I concluded
that it's okay.
So acha nikwambie hiyo story ya education. Do we have time?
Yes.
You want to do like that?
I can read the headlines, the e-paper headlines, the e-headlines. The Daily Nation's headline this morning. Kenya Kwanza MPs plea to Ruto on fuel. Some Kenya Kwanza MPs yesterday pleaded with the president to reintroduce the fuel subsidy program, lamenting that their constituents are increasingly becoming hostile to them because of the high pump prices as well as additional taxes. A section of ruling party legislators were also said to have spoken out against the planned deployment of Kenya's police officers on a UN peace mission in Haiti. That is on stories pages 4 and 5. Tough times force retirees back to work. The high cost of living in the country has eroded the ability of many Kenyans to save money or make any meaningful investments. This is leaving many retirees staring at poverty at the end of their employment. It also means the elderly people will continue to work in order to afford their basic needs. All right. The other headline here is CBC system still needs some adjustments, say primary school heads as they warn of a looming crisis. And is there light at the end of the tunnel for Mwangaza? It's a question that they're asking these guys at the Daily Nation. The Business Daily. State reveals plan to increase land fees by just 100 times.
Excuse me?
Yeah, I mean,
do you know what 100 times is?
do you know what land is? Home and land buyers are braced for a new hit after the Lands Ministry proposed to increase a number of service fees under a World Bank-backed revenue expansion plan. This will see some fees levied on land registration rise by up to 100 times, impacting the cost of home and land ownership, according to players in the real estate sector. For instance, the cost of official land search will double to 2,000, in a move which will see the ministry collecting billions of shillings in additional revenues from the essential service. Fees on registration of documents, including deeds of indemnity, agreements, contracts, and trust deeds, will jump from 500 to something else. So basically, those ones are application for incorporation of a trust, old fee 5,000, new fee 50,000. Or 500 to 50,000. Application for replacement of a title of the section, old fee 500, new fee 5,000. Application for preparation of a surrender of lease, old fee 500, new fee 5,000. Application for preparation of any instrument not herein above described, old fee 1,000, new fee 5,000. Yeah. World Bank wamesema these Kenyans love land.
So charge them for it. Charge them to maintain it.
Tax them.
Sheesh.
Other headline in the Business Daily: Kenya wins bid to lead Africa's push to cut dollar dominance. And firms freeze expansion plans on economic wars. Airtel Africa sticks to $825 million fresh capital plan. Swiss Bellotel to manage Emory Nairobi Safari Club. 2 hotels being taken over by the Swiss company. People Daily: Ruto MPs cry out over high prices. And Taifa Leo: uchumi wastaafu warudi soko. Waliostaafu wanaoga na kurudi
Staafu is what now?
In the Star,
retiree
online sitang. Yeah, right. This one again, Mwangaza must go, says MCA, as governor dismantles, in quotes, evidence. Curriculum Institute cuts down JSS subjects 14 to 9. Parents had complained that grade 7 students are being overburdened. Now, as it continues raining, 50 families in the Tana River belt have been displaced because Tana has breached its banks. Yes. Then there were 2 individuals in Kwale who had abducted an old man. And there was a hope that they might get non-custodial sentences. However, that has flopped because that old man has been found dead because he was murdered. So non-custodial, now murder charges are the things that they're actually going to face. Right. That is the Star for you.
Okay. Let's take a break and do remind us about Kiwi, please.
So, school fees is coming. And with all that we are seeing now, school heads are looking for extra money. Everybody's looking for extra money so that you can go to school in January. Now, Kiwi says, we understand. We want you to look smart when you're going to school, but we also want you to be able to afford to go to school. So, what you need to do, go to any of your supermarkets around the country, and then you buy the tin of Kiwi with this new design. You see the new design? With the new design. And then you're going to follow the instructions after you dial *459*5#. You're going to input the code that you will find under when you pop the lid. Immediately, you could win airtime or data. That's a good thing. You also then immediately get entered into the draw.
Alrighty.
Where 4 people every week are winning 35,000 shillings. And this 35,000 shillings goes directly to school. You can play for you, or you can play for other people as well. Imagine that somebody who might be in dire need of this school fees, right? And you can do it for them. It's like that. Do it. Let's go to school. Let's step up and shine with Kiwi.
All right.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
All right, let's see what it looks like on the roads now. The drizzle still continues, so it's probably going to slow us down just a tad when we're looking at traffic around the city. Not much coming off of the Thika Superhighway, not for now, but the Northern Bypass is hustling and bustling with activity. It's going to feed through towards Ruaka. It's going to also then go towards Muthaiga, and so we will see the influx of traffic. James Gishoro, it's been an eyesore for the last couple of days and a really sticky situation, but for now, we're not seeing much happening. So if that is your route, you might want to think about getting on it right now so that you can be away from the drama that is going to occur later on. Okay, we're also seeing traffic on Jogo Road going towards Landis. Everywhere else seems to be clear until you get to the Pangani Underpass if you're coming off the Thika Superhighway and then out towards Muranga Road. But it's manageable for now. There's movement on Kangundo Road, trying to get towards Outer Ring and then out towards the city. Let's cross our fingers and see what happens after the drizzle of this morning. And let's talk on Spice FM KE on X.
Chilled Spice. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
24/7.
So Eddie Awar is around and he says, no, I'm not MIA. I'm at war with the monkeys. The battle for food between man and wildlife has escalated here in Koru. Serikali isaidie.
Tuliambia Dr. Alfred Mutua kuja chukue vitu yake aweke kwa singenge.
Usijali. It's being had, that conversation.
Yeah.
So Eddie, good to see you and great to know that you're always there watching and participating in the show.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there are many conversations around education. Far from it that we wouldn't bring this up. School heads want extra money for pupils. That's the top story. KEPSA, which is the Kenya Primary School Heads Association, said that the 1,420 shillings capitation per child will not maintain a student in school. They're seeking for 8,077 shillings because this is the only way that they can make it happen. The head teachers argue that it is ideal to effectively fund primary schools. The school heads are converging in Mombasa for their annual conference, which also doubles as a celebration of their 20 years of existence. Johnson Zioka, who is the chairperson, talked about the fact that yes, introducing capitation ever since it was in primary schools is a fantastic thing, but it is not possible to fund a pupil with 1,500 shillings for a term. It doesn't make sense. So they said,
it can work.
I mean,
it can work.
Thank you. It's a good gesture. However, let's be serious a little bit. Now, the story that we're looking at now is that the state has admitted that there is going to be, it's brewing now, that there will be a Form 1 crisis next year due to big numbers.
Anyway, go on.
Breathe.
Go on.
The government has admitted it is staring at a crisis next year for Form 1 admission of candidates of the just ended KCPE examination. Shall I say that again?
Go on.
Basic Education PS Belio Kipsang said infrastructure in schools is below the target to accommodate the big number expected. PS said that this year's KCPE candidature is 280,000 students more compared to last year. The details emerged when ministry officials appeared before the National Assembly Education Committee Monday to discuss supplementary budget. Kipsang said there is a reduction of 3.34 billion shillings under the Junior Secondary School Improvement Program, another 1 billion under Secondary School Infrastructure Improvement Program, and 138 million under Primary School Infrastructure Improvement Program that will affect the sector. So that they're saying there's going to be a reduction in this money that would normally go. Number one. Number two, he said, although the government is planning to improve the learning environment in schools through construction and improved infrastructure to increase enrollment, the Exchequer has reduced allocations. So they would have liked to make sure that the required infrastructure actually exists. But their hands are what?
You know, the one thing, and I watched part of what Dr. Bello Kipsang was telling the Education Committee of Parliament. The one thing the Ministry of Education is not able to explain is where the 200,000 extra students came from. they're saying, number one, it is not the grade 7s.
No.
Because we can still see those who we registered last year into junior secondary are still in junior secondary. So it's not grade 7s that have now suddenly appear to register for KCPE. So where did the 200,000... do we have immigration?
You did not have a second class, for example. Because the children who just completed KCPE were in class 7 in 2022.
Yes.
There was no other class that was introduced into class 8.
Yeah.
The people who finished class 8 just now are the same ones who were in class 7 in 2022. So this extra fifth of the total number, true. Where did they come from?
How can you have an extra 200,000 unexplained?
280,000.
That's a very high number.
It's a third of the total amount.
That's a very, very high number.
It's been explained.
Okay, what's the explanation?
Capitation.
What about capitation?
If you have 200,000 new students, it means you have to pay capitation for this extra 200,000.
But you have to explain where the 200,000 have come from.
Or whoever they are.
The hope is that what we are asking will not be asked, and that we will simply take the view that there are 200,000 new students.
I understand what you're saying without saying it.
And there'll be explanations that these 200,000 were there, they left school, they came back. It will not add up. It will be explained, but it will not add up. These 200,000 have come from thin air.
These are ghost students.
They are ghost students. Just like they are ghost schools, they are ghost students who now will go to ghost schools, or they'll be spread around existing schools, and there'll be the indication that capitation has been paid. But the idea is you start with the number 200,000 plus. It equals X in capitation. There we are. Perhaps that amount of money we kept asking about, where did it go?
54 million over years.
Yeah, we kept asking, where did this money go? Perhaps we may be at the beginning of understanding where that money actually went.
This is absolute nonsense.
It is.
Heist.
Just like it was nonsense when we
cannot have an extra 280,000 is more than the students who are going to...
Take your pick. Yes, it is...
To qualify for university entry.
It is a quarter of the
total number.
Yes,
it's a quarter of the total number of students who did KCPE this year.
Yes. So
what are you talking about?
Are we saying that it was
where could they have come from?
No, let me ask.
Are we saying that over the years there was let's say last year we expected to have 1,100,000 students to sit KCPE, but only 1 million sat. So there was 100 kids who were supposed to have sat KCPE.
They didn't sit because they didn't register something.
Because they didn't register, so they didn't sit. And now they've heard that this is the final KCPE, and they're like, oh my God, I'm not going to have the paper.
Yeah.
So let me come in. But even then, with NEMIS, you'd be able to capture. You'd be able to tell that this is a student who was in Standard 7 2 years ago and not last year.
But you know, Eric, what you said is true, because we're still playing with the same numbers here.
Yes.
Even those who are writing KCSE right now, they were in Form 3. They were in Form 3 last year. So all the students currently in the country were in school. There was no influx from Uganda of 300,000
for that duration of time.
For you to sit KCPE,
you don't appear in class
from
4.
nowhere. You've been in school.
Yes.
So what are we talking about now?
We have a record of these students.
Come on. Now you're saying there will be a crisis. Where did they come from? Or are you trying to tell us that they've just been at home? Then now they
realize... Even if they were at home, then come up with that explanation and say, all right, so from this, what we've done, we've dug out and found out that 100,000 of these were at home in Standard 7, and they did not sit their KCPE. 150,000 of these sat their KCPE last year, but they did not transition to Form 1. So our 100% transition policy has been failing.
So now it's going to work.
It's exposing us.
Say it.
There are very many questions. You cannot just say 280,000 extra children will need spaces in Form 1 next year.
But it's exposing in nature, because what it has done is that I also showed you that previously you would just come and say things and it would be accepted, and then we move.
What I begin to wonder is whether these numbers we've been given for the longest time about the number of students we have in primary school
is actually the case.
Yes.
Exactly.
You
have to think.
May I have to question, because if 280,000 students can appear from thin air, What makes you so sure that we had 1 million students in school?
Because that's the number. Every year it's a million.
And
it's a million
accepted.
KCPE, it's 830,000
We've accepted.
KCSE, like that.
And then tertiary and whatever, we take around 50% of that number. This is what we've been told. And remember, all these numbers represent money.
Yeah.
All of them.
They do.
Right up to university, it represents money. So,
Dr. Belio Kipsang was unable to explain coherently when he was asked in Parliament. In fact, I saw one MP asking, is this students who were supposed to have transitioned to Form 1 and they didn't and they're coming back? Is it students who were supposed to have sat KCPE and they didn't sit KCPE, so now they heard this is the final KCPE, they are coming to register? And Dr. Kipsang was like, it's the final exam.
So?
But then he must be answerable. Because there's a policy on transition, 100% transition. He should have had that, captured that number and said, these children sat KCPE, they did not transition to Form 1. This is what we've done with them.
And now they're coming back because of 1, 2, 3.
On this matter, the apologist is Dr. Kipsang. It is him. He is the peer. It is him. Dr. Kipsang, it is you. It is him who actually ought to be telling us. These questions we're asking, if there were queries, it is him who ought to have raised them and had a response and said, let me explain. There's this number we are talking about. The reason why this number is there, and then he explains.
Yes. You're right, and he should know, because mind you, he's the only PS in the Ministry of Education that has carried from the previous administration.
Government. Yes.
So he's well aware of what was going on, and here we are today. But look at the things that have been happening systematically over the last 6 years. We were told, ghost schools, because we looked inside the NEMIS system and we found...
We came across them, all right.
Came across them. That's how that story
died. That's how it died.
Died. Nobody talked about it for years.
Have you heard of anybody being held culpable?
Where?
Zero.
Nobody has even asked that question. This one, if schools, entire institutions can be crafted, created, and then money is sent, how much more students, individuals,
That's easy. That's easier.
Very easy.
And then you spread them across all these many institutions we have in the country.
You put them in the fake schools.
And fake schools is a good place to put them. Because there you can put them in large numbers.
My goodness. And there's no answer, there's no question, there's nothing. And that's why you see why you're wondering why he couldn't answer coherently, is because it has never been put, and I put it to you to tell us exactly what this is about. No proper explanation has ever been given, and neither is it demanded. This collapse or crisis that he's talking about it is not going to start in 2024. I've been saying there has been a crisis in the sector for years. The attention that has been given to it is the issue here.
Let me take you to France. That story, that headline that you read, it's an interesting story. When an elderly couple held a garage sale after selling their second home in the south of France, little did they know that they would become embroiled in a legal battle worth millions of euros at stake. The 88-year-old man and his 81-year-old wife, who are identified by their initials in court documents, but have been confirmed to CNN as Mr. and Mrs. Fournier by their lawyer, listed for sale an ancient African mask, which had been inherited from Mr. Fournier's grandfather. The grandfather, René Victor Edouard Maurice Fournier, had served as a colonial governor in Central Africa during the early 20th century, when significant parts of the continent were under French colonial rule. The Fourniers sold their mask in September 2021 to a second-hand dealer for 150 euros. That's equivalent to 24,000 bob. According to their lawyer, Frederic, the two were unaware of the mask's market value and they believed the dealer was offering a fair price. 150 euro, chukwa. After all, it's some piece of African thing. A few months later...
That wasn't written, was it?
No.
Oh, okay.
A few months later, their lawyer said they learned through a newspaper article that their old mask was being auctioned off and that it was worth substantially more than what the dealer had paid. 2 days later, it sold for 4.2 million euros. A sale receipt shared with CNN showed. They sold it for 150 euros. 2 days later, it sells for 4.2 million euros.
Your engine fits not.
No. They launched a civil case against the dealer, which they lost in the fall of 2022, and they were ordered to pay court costs. You brought a case, in fact, to pay that guy. Now, they are appealing the earlier court decision, claiming the dealer failed in his obligation to provide pre-contractual information and committed a breach of consent. Okay. They are seeking to annul the sale of the mask, and they want the auction's proceeds to be given to them. As the appeal commenced at the tribunal in southern France last Tuesday, the Gabonese government has now come in and said,
excuse me,
they are requesting a suspension of these proceedings. The dealer's defense, according to court documents, maintains that he was unaware of the value of the mask when he purchased it from the couple, only discovered it once he went to the auction house to have it appraised. Court documents show that his lawyer argued that the sellers have no grounds for claiming the error. They themselves offered the item for sale at 150. They made an inaccurate economic assessment of the value of what they were selling.
They did not make any assessment.
Gabon now has come in. Gabon has filed a separate court case for the handling of stolen goods. And they're accusing Fournier's ancestor of having stolen the Ngil mask and therefore never being its rightful owner.
It was not their family mask again.
Gabon has come and said,
it's ours.
You stole it from...
Even Fournier stole it from Gabon.
Yeah. So all of you handled stolen goods.
Give us our mask.
We need our mask. Right. If the court accepts its petition to suspend the current legal proceedings on the sale of the Ngil mask, the country will be able to pursue their separate case for the handling of stolen goods and fight for the mask to be returned to the country of origin. The mask is an extremely rare artifact of great spiritual value to the Gabonese people.
Why haven't they brought this matter up before?
Thank you, my brother.
They didn't know it existed.
They didn't know that the mask... What do they mean?
They didn't know that the Fourniers had this thing
missing.
in their garage.
They didn't know it was missing.
Oh, they know very many things have been missing.
So they didn't know that Fournier... I think you actually like saying Fournier.
Yeah. The thing is, they didn't know that Fournier had stolen this thing from them and that he was keeping it and handing it over to his
How do you know Fournier had stolen it? Just because they've said he stole it.
Just because we had it doesn't mean it's
this
stolen.
man
there are no receipts of him buying it.
No, he was a colonial boss.
Ancestors, but
yes, people gave gifts. Sure. When you give gifts to even chiefs, do they give a receipt for the gifts they've received?
So that's
this was
thing.
This was the previous century. I'm saying we do not know with any great accuracy how it is he acquired this mask.
Yeah.
We only know that he acquired it.
Yeah.
Do you know the people that's turning everybody's eye now?
It is of great...
Of course it is. There's some Gabonese officials whose eyes are popping out right now.
It is great spiritual value to the Gabonese people.
Oh, Naso.
Okay.
Okay.
Government official has
their Gabonese culture, they do not gift such things of great spiritual value to non-Gabonese people.
When was Fournier in Gabon? 19 what?
The beginning of the 20th century.
Early 20th century.
So the gentleman who's speaking is probably third generation Leo.
Yeah.
And he's an expert on this spiritual and cultural.
Yes, of course he is.
I am
he can
Kenyan.
Also be spiritually seen by 4.2 million euros.
Yeah. Let me tell you something. 4.2, you cannot get more spiritual than 4.2 million euros. That thing, my friend, it's transcendent.
It's catapult you to heaven.
They want it. They don't want the money.
Of course not.
City, stop laughing at the quest by African governments and people to have their artifacts returned to them.
Bro, it's like this.
No. When artifacts were returned to to the Kaya the other day, did you hear those who were there telling the government those things that have come back from America?
Okay, did you hear Fournier's name being mentioned in that?
Because those Fourniers of America returned those things. No. This Fournier of France is selling this thing. Kwanzaa selling it for 150. How can you sell a very prized spiritual piece at 150? 150?
You see this Fournier in south of France with his 150. Plus the Gabonese official calling now somewhere from Libreville. Everybody shouting. It is the money that's disturbing everybody right now.
The people of Gabon want justice.
Eric, can I just ask a question?
Sure, ask.
Yeah, you see this spiritual artifact, the one which puts all spiritual things into perspective. I'm certain that the museum in Libreville must have an equivalent, isn't it?
Yes.
Because it can't have been just one mask produced,
No,
and I'm
it's
sure
very-
they have
it's
kept
very
it.
These things were
unlikely.
stolen. The museum in Libreville does not have anything. All those
They
things
stole
are sitting-
everything.
They are in garages in south of France and such other places. And you know, if these guys were selling it for 150, they just kept it somewhere there.
If it's a mask,
Keeping our God somewhere, you go just
They must-
and
Have you-
the other things and selling it for 150. What
so
kind of?
essentially, what I hear you to be saying is
Desecration.
that no, not in desecration. Eric is actually telling us that the human rights of this god was abrogated.
Yes, completely.
Is it God rights?
This is desecration of a people's culture.
So who now? They should actually hold this thing.
The Gabonese are saying, first of all, halt all those proceedings. Did you who sold what? Who sold what? Who sold what?
We don't want
Number
to.
one,
First of all of you are
that
handling
thing belongs to
stolen
us. Let it come back to us.
Then we can
Okay?
deal.
And then now we can charge these people with handling stolen goods.
Olimma,
So,
I've understood.
you don't tell me these Funye people did not hear all these years that Africans are looking for their
For
artifacts.
the artifacts.
And they're negotiating with governments, with
Then you now,
France,
you just
with
wait
Benin,
till-
and you've been keeping our thing in a garage somewhere.
Eric, let me just tell you a story in a minute. Long before we banned hunting, killing leopards, tigers, and all such animals in Kenya, one of the most fashionable things somebody could have was a handbag with a leopard skin on it.
Yeah.
Okay, I know because my late mother had several such handbags. Now, it came as a bit of a shock to me now when it was banned, and these things had been bought, receipted, and everything, that it wasn't just that. Animal skins were considered fashionable, okay? The ban came in, suddenly that handbag would stay in a cupboard to just leave it where it is. It now formed this spiritual component that you
Became
say.
an artifact.
Yeah, artifact. Something you just look at and say it exists, and that's it. Maybe it's my children now who can be told, this was okay in the day. I get. People are killing these animals and turning them into business. I understand.
Yes.
This story of artifacts, we will talk about it, and we'll look for the curator of the museums, this national, bring him, they in, so that they can discuss with us these things, that we can understand exactly how we look at these things, how we value these things, so that we know. So that next time Gabon loses an artifact, we will know exactly.
Next time, Funye.
Imagine some Funye comes up there with one of those vikorogozi of our coastal people.
Yeah.
And they're auctioning it at ngapi 15. No.
Or like now, Festax head from Nigeria.
Imagine.
The bronze head.
And you're just holding it like this and saying, no.
50.
We want it back. We don't want your money. You keep your money. In fact, what we want is you in jail.
Okay, so.
The way they jailed the artifacts, how can you put a serious thing in a garage?
In a garage, like that.
And then you,
in a box,
and then
in a
you
corner,
sell it. You
in the
sell it
dark.
in a garage sale.
And now you're greedy enough to come and say that you want the 4 million euros.
Can you imagine selling your god next to an old chair or a box of
Apple.
nails?
Garage sale.
So
even the way they were handling it, they were just holding it like this. That thing is not. You're supposed to hold it with both hands,
with your head
facing
down.
upright.
Yes,
and they're just holding it upside down like this.
And yes, and facing the lowlands, southeast.
Southeast lowlands.
We funye.
Okay, bro.
Kwende.
Tumesikia.
Umesikia?
Nimesikia vizuri sana bana.
Okay. In about a minute, we will getting into the news, and then we will hopefully be hosting the Cabinet Secretary for Environment. She's already arrived, and she'll tell us about this public holiday that's coming, where we are going to plant trees. The target is 100 million trees to be planted on that day.
Monday.
On that day. Meanwhile, Kiwi is reminding you that watch the 13th of November or December, January is coming, and fees will be there
in a 10.
Yeah. If your child is among the 260,000 extra of such KCPE this year, you'll still need to pay school fees next year. So what do? Buy Kiwi, look under the lead, you will find a code. Look on top of the lead, you'll find instructions in a Starbus. It tells you dial *459 *5#, enter the code, under the lead, and you stand a chance of instantly winning airtime
or data.
And you instantly get into a weekly draw where you could win 35,000 bob for school fees. It's 7 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is Newswire. Dennis Aseto. Genuine public sector pending bills will be the first items to be charged in the government budget. President William Ruto said it is time the government sorted out the sticky issues in a just and fair manner. He explained that it is not the business of the government to drive enterprises to ruin, but to facilitate their performance. The president noted that the move will stimulate economic revival by pumping back the much-needed capital in production. He was speaking at State House, Nairobi, when he presided over the inauguration of the pending bills verification committee. It will be chaired by former Auditor General Edward Ouko. Now, despite Kenyans explaining that they are in difficult economic situation, various government officials dealing with economic issues have emphasized that the Kenyan economy continues to improve. Speaking yesterday at an event organized by NCBA Bank, the Deputy Governor of the Central Bank of Kenya emphasized that the various economic strategies adopted by the government have borne fruit in controlling the economic situation.
Will never default. Our debt levels are sustainable, and the government has a plan that include first to manage the $2 billion US dollar euro bond immediately before the end of this year through a liability management. And we have been able to ensure that every time that a debt is supposed to be repaid, it is repaid because it's also in the government budgetary plan.
A statement has been emphasized and supported by the President's economic advisor David Ndii, who says that the economic difficulties that are now are only temporary as the government implements changes to fix the economy. Some of these changes include a loan agreement with the IMF. According to him, without these changes, Kenya's economy would completely collapse.
Why are we so sort of proactive on the IMF program? Without the IMF program, we would probably default. Let's be honest. They can also give us access to something called an exceptional window in the event. So we have access to the entire IMF balance sheet.
The International Monetary Fund has increased Kenya's loan amount to 98.3 billion shillings in a program that will continue to 2025. It should be noted that tomorrow President William Ruto is expected to address Parliament, and where he will list his achievements so far, especially in the distribution of resources, compliance with the law and protection of the Constitution, including the cost of living. The address will be on the State of the Nation. Tomorrow we shall be bringing you the very latest when the President will be addressing the nation. Now, the government has warned top executives of state-owned agencies that they risk losing their jobs for failing to declare all revenues collected on the e-Citizen platform. Immigration and Citizen Services Principal Secretary Julius Bitok, and whose docket the e-Citizen platform falls, said the government had noted a major variance between collected revenue and what was being reflected on the online platform. Addressing representatives of ministries, corporations, departments and agencies at Mlolongo, Machakos County, the PS said an analysis of potential revenue from the over 11,000 services on e-Citizen against declared amounts pointed to diversion of collected money. He attributed the discrepancy to cash payments for services against a presidential directive to process all online payments for government services through the pay bill 22222. And Meru County Assembly staged a fierce battle to substantiate 7 charges laid against Governor Kawira Mwangaza on the second attempt to remove her from office within a span of 1 year. In the opening statement made by the MCA's lead counsel, Muthomi Thiankolu, he urged the senators not to save the embattled governor from impeachment, arguing it will allow impunity and recklessness on her conduct to the detriment of the county administration. In rebuttal, Mwangaza's counsel, led by Elisha Ongoya, urged senators to weigh the evidence against a client arguing that the allegations are based on falsehoods. Her charges include misappropriation and misuse of county resources. Mombasa has been accused of violating the law by paying full salary and benefits for more than 1 year to 4 county officials while knowing those officers were not rendering services to the county. The Senate will debate the matter and vote on whether the governor will be kicked out or she will retain her position. And FKF Premier League reigning champions Gor Mahia will launch a new bus this weekend at Kasarani in an event that will be graced by Information, Communications and Digital Economy Cabinet Secretary Edouard. The event will precede a high-octane clash with rivals Muranga Seal, who have had a flying start to life on the top flight following their promotion of the National Super League last season. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseta. Good morning.
Spice FM, Nakuru.
All right, it's a few minutes after 7 o'clock now is when we see the traffic building up in most parts of the city. Heavy traffic coming off Thika Superhighway. It started rather heavy on Kangunda Road. It's heavier now, touching on Outer Ring. And then as you get towards Pangani at the underpass, more traffic. We're also looking at James Gishero. Traffic then touching on Wayaki Way. And that's pretty busy as you go through towards the city. Ruaka then coming in and touching on Limuru Road is also doing the business this morning as well. The Eastern Bypass will see more traffic, that's for sure. We'll get into traffic hour in a bit. And also note that the drizzling continues and it's going to slow things down a little bit as well. Keeping safe is top notch in terms of priority. Let's see what happens later and we'll talk on Spice FM, KE on X.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
7 on this 8th day of November 2023. Welcome to The Situation Room. If you're just joining us on Spice FM, on KTN Home, we are live streaming on YouTube and Facebook as we always do here every weekday morning from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Hiya. Monday is a public holiday. You know that, right?
I do.
Now you know. And this public holiday is for what purpose?
We are going to plant trees.
Why?
Because we're trying to, save the environment. Climate change is real and planting trees and growing trees is important when it comes to saving the environment and absolutely necessary when it comes to restoration of forests and things like that. Forest cover is a big deal. It's a necessary one. And, we want to see the restoration of our lakes and rivers and making sure that drought, doesn't become so hard on the environment as it has in the past. It's a good thing all around.
All right.
You're convinced, aren't you?
No, I'm not. It's okay. Let's ask the question. The Cabinet Secretary who is in charge of environment, climate change and forestry is the Honourable Soipan Tuya. She's our guest this morning. Good morning, Waziri.
Good morning, Eric.
Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Thank you.
That's a hot seat of the Situation Room. To welcome you to the conversation, CT will give you something. It's called Gole in Masai. Yellow Gole? Ni masiwa. Siti. Ambia wasiri mambo ya wasiri.
I don't see any milk.
It's coming. That's why he's here.
It isn't virtual milk. It's actually real. It's just that it's taken a bit of time to get here, but it doesn't just milk on its own. Milk, wonderful, lovely, excellent for children, excellent for grown-ups, excellent for life. But When you now get Kenyan, you think tea. And not just tea, there's what we call Kenyan tea. Now, Kenyan tea isn't just tea as in you have tea leaves or you have a tea bag and you have water. No. You boil the tea leaves to the point where it's bubbling. Then you add milk. Continues to bubble. Then you use a sieve and you pour it into a cup. I have one such cup and I have the very tea I'm speaking of. Now, when it's dairy best, you will experience something, should we say, unusual. It will be rich and it will be creamy. So now, that Kenyan tea doesn't just become Kenyan tea, it becomes chai kweli.
Chai kweli, you're gonna dairy best. It's rich, it's creamy, it's affordable, it's available countrywide. You go to any shop, any supermarket, and you ask for Brookside Dairy Best. And in fact, you can buy the long life pack, a 6-pack, so you can keep it longer, right? And Waziri, you know, in Kenyan spirit, when you go visiting somewhere, usiende mkono mtupu. Hapa kwetu we don't expect, but when you're visiting others,
I'm salivating and
unapeleka.
There are cups on everyone's table and none
Chai
on mine.
yako ndio hii inakuja. We bring
This
it.
is not a Kenyan table.
We introduce it slowly.
Okay, I'm
Next
waiting.
step is CT giving you the day's proverb.
Yes. Our proverbs for the whole of this week come from the country of Congo, the Republic of Congo, otherwise known as the Congo or Congo Brazzaville. Now, I mentioned it yesterday that the name Brazzaville was actually derived from the name of a certain Italian nobleman whose name was Pierre de Brazza. Now, oddly enough, he came from a place called Brazzaco. So Brazzaville has a long history. Enough of Brazzaville and Brazzaco. The day's proverb. Now this is for you, dears. A cow with milk does not lack someone to milk it.
It's really about milk. And you have the wrong person on the seat.
A cow with milk does not lack a person to milk it. Yes. Waziri, this proverb, what do you think the Bakongo are saying? What's your interpretation of it?
A cow with milk does not lack
someone to milk it.
Someone to milk it. Interesting. You know, as a milker of cows, the first thing is to take it literally. Only that I can milk even a cow without milk and make milk out of it. But in the context of what we are talking about, I can only think about it in the discussions around our ecosystem restoration. And from where I sit, it is our natural resources for me are very rich, that we have not maximized on what they portend for the country from a livelihood perspective, from a national economic perspective. And I think we are at a point where we are seeing that potential. At least as I sit here, I see a cow with milk that we can really maximize on in this country. And it is in our forests, we need to start quantifying and valuing what we have in our natural resources in terms of how much it is to our GDP, job creation. We have statistics flying around in terms of how much jobs the sector is supporting, how much it's contributing to GDP, but it's not been exhausted. It's not exhaustive. So one, we are living below our potential, and we also fall into the trap of, if you don't value something, then the corresponding profiling, support, and protection it doesn't match what the value of a particular commodity or thing is. A cow in this sense.
sense.
So I think we can begin by saying that we have a very very valuable resources in our hands, and sometimes I say we are sitting on gold and begging with a golden ball. With regards to our forest resources.
We have what we need.
We have what we need.
Okay.
We just need to maximize on the potential. We need to optimize in terms of what we can derive from what we have.
Okay.
Yeah.
Monday, the government has declared Monday a public holiday with a clarion call to plant trees on the day.
Yeah.
Tell us about that. What's the thinking behind this?
The thinking around, first of all, to just let Kenyans know that yes, we did gazettement of the day under the public holidays law, because that is the legal avenue available. And for me, I would wish that we did not even have to go that far to have everybody stop and think about how important it is to plant trees. And the simplicity of planting a tree is one that Kenyans need to really think about. Because I say that at where we find ourselves, we can no longer do tree planting or growing as a pastime, as just a CSR or a plant and go. We really have to think critically about what the essence of greening our country is about. So we had to do a gazettement of this day. One is to just have, like I'm literally saying, everyone stop in this country and let's think about the climate situation we find ourselves in. We are moving from one cycle of severe drought after another, and we immediately jump into what we are now finding ourselves in. Of course, the debate is whether it's El Nino or not, but you can see the adverse effects of the short rains that we are in right now. And if there was anybody who did not believe that the climate crisis is here with us, I think that number should be diminishing in terms of the number of people who are still thinking, is climate change real or not? So really, the gazettement is first for Kenyans to see the seriousness of the ecosystem restoration plan that we have put in place, where we are saying we plant 15 billion trees. For me, it's the list of actions that Kenya can do to do its part in contributing to the global and the clarion call around climate action. And it is not for my ministry. It cannot be for my ministry to achieve that. It is every individual Kenyans, even little children as young as 1 year. We can start training our children to plant trees and broadly to value our environment, our ecosystems, and it goes on to, spill into the kind of wanton pollution we see around us.
Yeah.
And for this pollution, the destruction of our ecosystems, it's like 99% human contribution. So for me, Monday should be a day for Kenyans to really think seriously about what is my position as an individual Kenyan and what is my responsibility in protecting our environment, because it is everybody's responsibility.
Why Monday? Why not this Friday? Why not next Friday?
Of course,
is
we
there
had
anything
to.
Specific to the 13th of November?
No. I can. There's nothing. Of course, we looked at the calendar and availability of the president is a lead champion, as you have seen. So really, there's nothing special about being a Monday. It could have been a Friday, but then again, the intention is. It is feeding into, if it was Friday, it would have fed into a weekend, but the weekend is preceding the Monday. So the intention is also for Kenyans to really engage in this tree growing. So we have a whole weekend feeding into this Monday. Of course, the Monday being the first day of the week is a serious work day, but we are saying stop all other work, let's do this very important work of growing trees. But then we have a protracted period of the weekend and Monday where then people can really engage in tree growing activities. Though for Kenyans who are able to travel, you can travel to your home county or up country where maybe you have your shamba and you do your trees. For urbanites particularly, who may not have a lot of space within which to do the tree growing, they can travel to their farms and do the tree growing. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's very clear what has happened with the environment in Kenya for the last, decade plus, seeing a long drought. Yeah. And as we know, with the severe drought will follow the kind of weather patterns that we are seeing now with severe rain. It goes without saying. It also goes without saying that we saw the suffering that many Kenyans went through. 23 counties, over 4 million people affected by not being able to eat food that has been grown. Without any kind of external involvement, COP28, climate summits around the world, it's obviously a Kenyan theme that needs to be handled. Is this activity on Monday a purely Kenyan initiative, void of any kind of external contribution or engagement?
This is a purely Kenyan thing. We have our ambition to plant 15 billion trees in the next 10 years, to up our tree cover to 30% from the current 12.3%. And it is a constitutional obligation. We are only expanding the scope of the aspiration. Actually, it's a threshold set by the Constitution. It should be at least 10%. But we feel it is an area where we can really expand our ambition around, because it's an easy thing to do, only if we get the buy-in of Kenyans. Of course, we are party to various multilateral environmental obligations, various legal instruments that we have committed to around the scope of ecosystem restoration. We have a UN declared decade of ecosystem restoration, which runs from up to 2030. We are within that as part of the global village, and the obligations that I've talked about. But this is a purely Kenyan initiative. And like I said, beyond planting trees, what we want Kenyans to know is that tree growing and ecosystem restoration can translate to more food on the table. It can translate to jobs, and at the very bare minimum, we are saying we really want to ensure that our 15 billion trees, at the very bare minimum, 30% should be fruit trees, which then speak to the nutrition needs, food security needs, but also fodder trees. We have fodder trees that can really thrive in arid and semi-arid parts of this country. If we achieve that, then it will be real for Kenyans. I am very sure you give a Kenyan farmer fruit trees to grow that can grow in their locality, they will protect them because there's something at the end of the game. Yeah. Beyond that, we are in a stage where we have the carbon markets, the carbon trading. It's a very nascent field right now. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry, if I may call it. We want to. It is a very complicated, and we are in the middle of putting in place a legal framework and regulations that will really break down this carbon trading thing, so that people can see a tangible benefit out of it. It's very moribund and big out there, but ask Latif
to explain.
How do I benefit?
I don't know which part of the country you come from, But there could be people eating carbon credits in your locality.
Kwetu in Kimano Loitoktok, it's possible.
Actually, those are the places where it's thriving.
That's where it's being
in the conservancies and the grasslands. But if I was to ask you to put a finger at this thing,
I have no idea what it is. I just hear it.
You could easily say it's hot air. Yeah. So the government is not able to say this is how much we are making or how much it's contributing to the GDP of the country. Communities are not able to say that yes, they have engaged with a private investor in carbon trading and this is their fair share of the benefits. So there is no transparency. It's a whole integrity question of that market. So the legal framework is intended to address the integrity issues, even standardization of how much does a carbon credit cost. Yeah, because we see different pricing. In Europe, it's different. In the America side, it's different. In Africa, it's totally
important. How is
different.
it measured?
It's all those questions.
Because is it in kilos? Is it in liters?
It's in tons.
It's in tons. Yeah.
Yes, and
a ton of what?
Precisely, because
it's a ton of carbon equivalent.
Carbon equivalent. Okay.
Yes.
Or other greenhouse gases equivalent to 1 ton.
All right. Now, just when you begin to understand this, somebody throws biodiversity. Now you're wondering, okay, so what are we measuring?
Yeah.
But let me ask this question, Mheshimiwa. This initiative is supposed to essentially be kicked off on Monday, officially.
We are just taking advantage of the short rains.
Okay.
Yeah.
It
has been ongoing.
Why I ask is because I want to understand the design of it. Because even as we talk about planting trees, as you say correctly, it's not just the carbon credit thingamajig and everything around it. When you talk trees, you're talking forests. When you talk forests, you're talking indigenous trees, indigenous forests. You've now introduced some forests and some trees that you can plant in some of the semi-arid areas. You've talked about the food element. So all these things must have a design. Because the moment you say what you said, there is a design.
Yes.
Could you walk us through this design?
Speaking of our strategy.
Yes.
We have a strategy.
Yes.
Where it's rangelands and ecosystems restoration strategy.
Yes.
Of course, at the core of that is the 15 billion tree growing initiative. And what we've done is we have divided this 15 billion into various intervention areas. We have agroforestry as an intervention area, and it has a whole strategy and the various players in the country that would engage in agroforestry to feed into the 15 billion trees. We have the arid and semi-arid areas. That's where we have the biggest potential. The land is available, but it has specific tailored interventions that work for those areas. We have our gazetted forests, which is just a small percentage of the space available for these 15 billion trees. In fact, the biggest potential lies in individual farmlands, by individual Kenyans, and of course the community forests, mostly within counties in the arid and semi-arid areas. We have the coastal opportunities, the mangroves. They have a whole strategy to it, and they are touted as one of the highest carbon sequesters in that carbon credit story. We have a bamboo plantation strategy, and we have allocated hectareage to each and every of these. There are 11 intervention areas with a specific interventions and strategies specific to those areas. Bamboo, for example, is one where we can really have a lot of, enterprises around it. It's going to support a lot of manufacturing sectors and, the whole livelihood support, So I am speaking from that strategy, and we have had to onboard a wide range of players. For each intervention area, we have a government lead paired up with a private sector lead or a non-state actor lead. And for each intervention area, again, they can only be achieved in specific counties because we are also, framing the strategy around counties. So it can only be achieved around specific counties. For example, mangroves, like I said, can only happen in very specific areas. Even the fodder trees, the bamboo, it cannot really work across the landscapes in the country. So that is the strategy we are on. It has already kicked off. And we also have the commercial forest plantations.
I was going there.
Owned by government. There is a strategy around that. And these are plantations specifically designed for commercial value. And they are government-owned forests. And it's about 5% of the total gazetted forests, government forests in the country. And, they have a cycle of how that works out because they are time-bound in terms of the maturity of the trees. They have to be harvested and put into the commercial wood industry. So that is the design of the strategy, and that's where I'm speaking from.
One last thing. For this to be sustainable beyond our lifespan and our times, is there a plan to ensure that these ideas are part and parcel of the learning of our children so that our children grow up knowing all these things so that it's something they consider normal?
Yeah. I have been very, very intentional and of course at cabinet level we've also been very intentional on that because like I started by saying, this Monday I'm really hoping that it will be a mind shift for Kenyans, a behavior change and different perspectives that Kenyans will have for our environmental protection. And it has to start with our value systems. And the best place to begin is at the ABCs, with our children. So me and my education colleague Machogu, we have actually jointly taken through cabinet a memorandum which sets out a clear framework on how our learning institutions, the CBC and the curricula that we have coming up through KICD should be very, very intentional and targeted in making sure that environmental conservation and protection becomes an ABC for our children. Right. And that is happening. That's in the offing. It's been in the books, but we are not really. It's been loosely in the books, in the strategies of the Ministry of Education. The intention has been there, but for me, for the time I'll be CS for environment, that's an area that I really am keen on and pushing to make sure that a 1-year-old child can be trained to plant a tree. So, our kindergarten level children at 3 years, 4 years, it really should start from there. And children are very important agents of change. They will push even their parents to
do it,
to do stuff.
Yeah.
My children, put me to task with how I handle my waste. And they really push you. Yeah.
You have to separate
when
your
they
waste.
see grandmothers throwing things out the window, it just becomes something else. And if we are serious about inculcating the values and culture in our children, we will listen to them and we will move with them. So if we begin it at the ABC stage, I think it's going to be very sustainable.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's take a break. 26 minutes to 8. We are hosting the Honorable Soipan Tuya. She is the Cabinet Secretary for Environment, Climate Change and Forestry. We are talking about the work that the ministry is doing on climate change, on environment and restoration of the country, particularly this strategy, rangelands and ecosystem restoration strategy. Why are we having a public holiday on Monday? It is so that all of us can stop and think about our ecosystem and take action by planting trees. Okay, we were telling you about this Kenyan habit. Kenyan habit is taking Kenyan tea. Kenyan habit is gifting somebody. So we want to help you to gift somebody this morning, and we want you to go to our social media handle, Spice FM KE on YouTube, Spice FM KE on Twitter, Spice FM KE on Facebook. Nominate somebody whom you'd like to gift a Brookside Dairy hamper. This is a Brookside Dairy Best hamper. Whom would you like to gift so then they can receive this maziwa for them to make chai kweli, right? Go on to our social media handles, Spice FM KE on Twitter, on Facebook, and even on Instagram. Lyoto will pick a winner.
We love to share our cultures, and the one thing that unites us all, that celebrates precious moments, nurtures our Kenyan spirit, welcomes, and even inspires. Our language does all of this and more. The more the milk, the better the chai. Chai kweli in a Brookside Dairy Best.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
All right, still a drizzle in Nairobi, 17 degrees, highs of 22 today, and we'll see highs of 22 in a rainy Nakuru at 16. Light rain also in Nyeri at 17 with highs of 22, and looking into a partly cloudy Eldoret, highs of 22 and lows of 14. Mombasa is cloudy at 25, a chance of rain, highs of 30, and we'll see Malindi partly cloudy at 27, going to highs of 29. Looking into Kisumu this morning, partly sunny at 20, highs of 27 and 18 degrees, and sunny in Kakamega with highs of 25 and lows of 15. Out into Kampala, partly sunny at 20, and Dar es Salaam is sunny at 26. And we're looking at mostly sunny conditions at 12 in Johannesburg. It's 27 and cloudy in Mogadishu, and sunny at 13 in Addis Ababa. Lagos is mostly clear at 25, and it's heavy rain in Kinshasa at 25 with highs of 31 and lows of 24.
If a lion shows you its teeth, it doesn't mean it likes you.
It doesn't mean it likes you. It won't start. A liar calls as witness one who is either dead or far away. Say it in Kiswahili.
Ben low, nin inte, yenin there, ayu markati kadikta. You know this character called liar. He has disturbed people. So when you tell him, who are your witnesses, he will take you to a place where it is difficult to verify.
For someone like me who sweats a lot, I cannot survive there. Sweating is biblical. Good. And you must blame it on Adam, not me. Because Adam messed up and he was told, now you fellow you, by the sweat of your brow, thou shalt eat.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
All right, busy in the city this morning. Coming off a Thika Superhighway, we're getting out into the city with bumper-to-bumper traffic through to the Pangani Underpass. And then this whole area coming in from Gong Road into Kilimani. Also on this side of Upper Hill, very, very busy. James Gishiro, very busy as well, crossing over towards the Red Hill Link Road in no time. And that is going to happen. General Mavenga, we are told, is a pond and 2 lakes. So I'm not quite sure what you're going to use to traverse that, but it's going to be crazy today. And the heavens in Nairobi are opening. And rain is coming down. It's going to slow things down. So we're going to ask you to do 2 things. Be careful. And then overspeeding is not encouraged because we could get into accidents and we don't want that. No, we don't. Touching on Outer Ring coming in from Manyanja Road as well as Kangunda Road. And that's busy crossing over towards Juja as well. Keep an eye on things this morning. Let's talk on Spice FM. KE on X.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM.
8, our conversation continues with Waziri Soipan Tuya from the Ministry of Environment, Climate Change and Forestry, Kenya's national tree growing exercise and climate action priorities. Waziri, so there's a strategy at play here. there's what has been discussed, what's being implemented, and it's coming from the very top. The president himself is leading on this. The president himself went and convinced other African leaders, let's have our own climate conversation. The Africa Climate Summit took place, hosted in Nairobi successfully. So there's been a calendar of events that's been taking place. I feel, though, that Monday one was not in a calendar. Or why were we only told about this 13th of November, this Monday, and told next week Monday will be a tree growing day, we have 100 million trees to plant on the day. Everything else that needs to happen, is it happening? Do we have tree nurseries? Schools are closed. Our biggest ambassadors, like you said, are at home. How do we mobilize the entire country towards this? Was this in a plan, or was it influenced by something that happened or that's supposed to happen this week?
Thank you, Eric. Like I said, we have a target to do 15 billion trees in 10 years. That translates to 1.5 billion trees every year. And beside the strategy, the strategy, the boardroom strategy, where we sit and write and think about those intervention areas, we now have the God strategy, the natural strategy, which is the rains and the right moisture content to support our tree growing, which naturally is fashioned around the two rainy seasons, the long and the short. So we have actually had different dates thought around, but then the rains kept shifting. The predictions, actually, the whole discussion about whether we are going into El Nino or how much rain we are expecting, there has been delay because the Mets told us that we were supposed to kick off the short rains in mid-October. But it didn't kick off until maybe a week ago is when we started seeing some serious momentum to a semblance of sustained rainfall in the country. And we don't know for how long it is going to be there again. The projections and predictions are that it could even spill over up to January. That would be great if that happens. But the peak, again, is said to be November, and you can see already it's quite, it's picking up. So we are optimistic that by Monday, we should really be able to do tree planting across the country. So that is what has dictated a choice of date. Choice of the dates. We had actually picked earlier dates, but then there was no rain coming. So there is no external push or some activity that is driving this. Certainly not from the climate summit or
So with the date for Monday then, Mheshimiwa, you're telling all public servants at national and county level not to report to work. All people who are working in private companies not to report to work, to go and plant trees. Where will they pick the tree seedlings from? Is there such conversation? Let's pick the example of my hometown, Kimana, Loitoktok.
Right.
Where are people in Kimana, Loitoktok, those who work for national, county, and private institutions, going to pick trees from? Why do I tell my mother to go and pick seedlings for her and her neighbors, and even in the neighboring areas, Namelok, Sinet, and others? Where do we get our tree seedlings from?
So once again, to go back to your question on whether this was a very impromptu, decision, we have been calculating and really planning around it for some time at cabinet level, at my ministry level, and in partnership with the county governments. We have had discussions around this, and of course we have made some attempt to really popularize the campaign around 15 billion trees. So from the very top level, we have, through a directive of cabinet or a decision of cabinet, assigned cabinet secretaries to at least two counties each. Each one of us has 2 counties to champion the initiative and provide, some form of coordination and leadership in bringing the governors together the county commissioners and all the other players within the counties, but also for cabinet secretaries to mobilize their own ministries, departments and agencies to support the initiative, to actually drive the initiative. I said this is one of those whole of government approach. Literally, without that, this cannot succeed. It's whole of government, whole of society, whole of community. It's everybody has to buy into this and plug in. So with that coordination, at the county level, we have the county commissioners have been tasked to convene technical planning teams. Ordinarily, we have the county environment committees at each county. It consists of the county commissioner, or rather, let me say, national government administration at various levels, the county government, and the Kenya Forest Service, National Environment Management Authority, NEMA, KEFRI. KEFRI is not everywhere, but it is in quite some parts of this country. We now have 18 seed centers that are available across the country to provide that technical backstopping for the whole plan. We also have some non-state actors as part of that county level environmental committee. And it is a committee that exists. It's been there, but it's not been quite active. So one of the things that this will help us achieve this Monday event, and that is how it is fashioned in the counties, is that we will really begin to seriously activate the county environment committees, because it brings everybody together. At the technical level, the county commissioner convenes, and we have our Kenya Forest Service county forest conservators sitting there. And KFS, Kenya Forest Service, is really the first line of support for this exercise. So we have 3 nurseries across the country at Kenya Forest Service stations, at KEFRI stations where they exist. We have regional development authorities, 6 of them, the likes of ENSDA, the Coast Regional Development Authority, there are 6 of them. And those regional development authorities also have 3 nurseries in their establishments. We have targeted our government entities, the NYS. Through KEFRI, we have provided seeds in large volumes to NYS. They have set up nurseries across the countries, and they have their numbers and targets. They have targets of how many seedlings to propagate. KDF is playing a very critical role because one of the biggest challenges we are facing is the seedling availability. Let me say that. Yeah, that's a big challenge.
Which is why I was asking the question. For those who are watching in Kimana, where do they get their seedlings from? I mean, what do people do on Monday? You don't want it to be a waste where people wake up, all right, so I want to plant a tree, but I don't have seedlings. And then
so we are going to have one national event presided over by the president in Makueni, the Q wetland. So we will have thousands of seedlings. We are targeting to do not less than 100,000 in that particular site. We will have sufficient seedlings even to give to members of the public who will come for those functions. But those who will not, and then simultaneously in each county, with this arrangement of cabinet secretaries assigned to that county, the governor, the county commissioner, we shall have county level events. But that doesn't stop any Kenyan or our members of parliament, for that matter, for example, to do an event away from this one of the county commissioner and governor and CS, to do it in their constituencies. And by end of today, we will be making it public at county level for Kenyans to know where the seedlings are located, where they can actually get them through the Kenya Forest Service and these other entities. Progressively, our plan, which we have not actualized right now, is that we will have a tree nursery at every chief's camp. And that
as government.
And by the next rainy season, the long rains next year, I can categorically say that we will have achieved that. And once we have the seedlings devolved to that level of the chief's camps, beside, Kenya Forest Service stations are also not at the proximity of everybody. I mean, they are, far from other people. Maybe your village, in Kimana,
forest.
Is it Kimana?
Yeah.
Hakuna forest.
Hakuna Kenya Forest Service hapo.
I hope sio kukula mumekula forest
iko
but
iko juu Loitoktok.
Yeah, if it's in Loitoktok, it really does not serve the purpose to tell your villagers that you
wake up and go to Loitoktok for the
seedlings. Eric, I'm sure we have young people who have nurseries very close to your village.
That's true. Mheshimiwa, all I'm just trying to establish here is with a plan, with a date set, working backwards.
Still answering to your question.
Was there a proper, plan on what we are going to do on Monday that informed Monday? And said, so by Monday, everything, all the ducks will be in a row. We will have people planting trees.
Yes.
Or is it going to be just this one at Kew Forest with the president and others with the cabinet secretaries somewhere, but then the rest of us are spectators?
It is,
which means that there's no point of calling a public holiday.
Right. It is everybody, Eric. And like I said, I would encourage all of us Kenyans listening and watching to make that attempt. Just find your space, even in your own backyard.
So I think that's as much as that you're saying, because I think the way it came out is as though, this is government, is an initiative. It is, but that everybody is going to wait for instructions, and this is where you'll be able to get them. But what I hear you saying is that, ownership of this, and then being able to take the initiative even on your own as Kenyans in the community where you are, and then be able to do the same thing. Is that what you're saying?
Let me tell you.
And don't wait for CS Soipantuya to come to your community and say, let's go.
With a seedling.
Let me tell you, and I said this at the beginning, if we achieve nothing more than a Kenyan knowing that it's their responsibility. Yes, we have seedlings. We will have them in the specific sites. But not every Kenyan will come to the site. But if each Kenyan even bought a seedling, one, at 10 shillings or 15 or 20, just one. And I know we are in a fiscal situation. But if a Kenyan just bought one seedling, we would be able to do 50 million seedlings on this particular day at the bare minimum. Of course, we will surpass that target because I can be able to do 1,000 or 2,000. So we will really hit high targets. And we have an app, a mobile app. We are calling the Jazamiti app, and the other call. And from today, Wednesday, we will be having a very targeted campaign to tell Kenyans, please, even if you only manage to do one tree during this whole space, please record it.
Okay.
And the app is easily accessible. We are going to make sure Kenyans know about it. It's called the Jazamiti app. If you are to search for it on your phone, you will get it. I have it on my phone. It is, every tree that we plant, because right now we are not recording. And if we don't record, then we will only be talking and really doing nothing in the end. From my app right now, the total recording that has been done of the trees as we speak is 121,713 million. 121 million or 122 million since we started the campaign. And it's a year ago. So we have a lot of work to do for Kenyans to know about the Jazamiti app. And it is not 121 trees that have been planted. It's more
than that.
It's more than this.
So that was my question then, because we'll have a day on Monday where it's commemorative that this is happening, but then to plant a tree and to grow a tree and to keep it, of course, is a totally different activity. And so the question is, how will we make sure that this remains? We've seen countries on this planet, who have restored their forests by this tracking, who've been able to restore significantly. You talk about the Brazils and people like this who are under threat of the jungle disappearing, and then made a spirited effort and said, let's start planting, let's keep growing, and let's make sure that we keep up. So I think for me the question is, all this effort Because, I mean, politics aside, Waziri, and all these other things that can creep into the conversation, if there is a decision and a commitment to do this, the question is the commitment then must go beyond the planting and the day towards ensuring that these remain to achieve some of these things that you started off with, restoration of food bans and things like that. Is it there, and how then? I mean, you talked about the Jazamiti, but what else to make sure that these, if we achieve the 15 billion, to ensure that in generations to come, they will still be there?
Yeah. We and it's still the campaign. You know, for me, Monday is really the campaign to make Kenyans own this process. And I'm saying I'll be very happy if by Monday we will have each Kenyan plant just one seedling. And don't wait for Soipan to bring the seedling to your doorstep. We have close to 150 million plantable seedlings within our reach, which those that we can say they are in this and this locality within the counties. But not everyone will be able to reach where those seedlings are. And we may not be able to do a door-to-door. And for me, if we do a door-to-door, then we are not achieving the objective. Because there has to be a drive from an individual Kenyan to actually know that this is a serious exercise, beneficial to all of us. Let's take the rallying call and do our bit. Just one. For me, we will have achieved that. And the intention is really, we have been planting, if we had been doing things the right way in this country, the number of trees that have been planted in this country, gosh, we would be living in a jungle, literally, if it was done right. But it has been a pastime, you know, people meet and do one tree, and it's just planting and then they move away. For me, for example, the Q wetland that we are going to, I do not go to any place to plant a tree where I know it's not fenced, where cows will not follow after me and eat the seedlings. So it has to be fenced. And even if I do only 10 and I know they are secure, for me that is the sustainability we are looking for. The Q wetland, we are in partnership with the Governor Mutula Kilonzo Jr. He has taken up the fencing. He's going to do the fencing, and we are going to invite other players, some conservancy players around the area, KWS and KFS, to make sure. And the site, for example, where we planted trees during the president's birthday, when we rolled out this exercise, it was in Ngong. Please visit that place. And for me, it's just demonstrating to Kenyans that even if it is one, please take care of it until it matures. Instead of doing 1 million that we have no plan for. When you go to the Ngong site where we did 5,600 trees during the president's birthday, and we did it it was not raining in December last year. So, and because it was the president's birthday and we had to begin the campaign, we had to do it because we intended to do it. So we had to make sure there were water bowsers available throughout. We fenced the place and put young people to take care of the trees. It's 100% successful. And that's the intention we want to achieve across the country. We have deliberately picked the Q wetland in Makueni. Wetlands are a low-hanging fruit. We have water around our wetlands all through the year. So whether it's raining or not, if you fence off the wetland area, you only need a little support for the seedlings to survive. And our wetlands are endangered. I like to give the example of Lake Olbolosat, and it's a lake. It's the source of Ewasonyiro River, or maybe closer home, it's where we have the Thompson Falls coming from. When you do check when you go to the Thompson Falls, it's now some trickles of water coming, and the lake itself is.
Olbolosat is now a pond.
It's not even a pond. The last time I was there,
it's dry.
There were cows grazing right
at the center of
the lake. So that's how bad it is, and that is for me the awakening that we need to bring Kenyans to end. If we achieve that on Monday, and it's a journey. We start on Monday. I really hope that Kenyans can see it the way I am seeing the vision, let's walk this journey
and own it.
Yeah, and
it's all
own
about
it.
ownership, and like you said, it's a clarion call for all of us to think, okay, what can we do individually from wherever we are?
And it's a life and death now.
Country.
It's a life and death now. It's about livelihoods. It's about look at the destruction that we are having now with the short trains. Lives lost, livelihoods and all that.
Waziri, we thank you very much for joining us today. Please come again soon. You need to come so that you can teach us about carbon credit, tell us who's selling our credit, how many tons we have in this country, and all those things. Right? The Honorable Soipan Tuya is the Cabinet Secretary for Environment, Climate Change and Forestry. She's been our guest this morning. Monday is a holiday, not for you to sleep. Let's go and plant trees. 8 a.m. Good morning.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is News. I am Dennis Aseto. Kenya has great potential in its ecosystems and natural resources, but which have not been explored. Environment CS Soipan Tuya says that the potential in our natural resources play a great role in the GDP, but which must be intentionally explored as they play an important role in job creation.
Our natural resources, for me, are very rich, but we have not maximized on what they portend for the country from a livelihood perspective, from a national economic perspective. And I think we are at a point where we are seeing that potential. At least as I sit here, I see a cow with milk that we can really maximize on in this country. And it is in our forests. We need to start quantifying and valuing what we have in our natural resources in terms of how much it is to our GDP. Job creation, we have statistics flying around in terms of how much jobs the sector is supporting, how much it's contributing to GDP, but it's not been exhausted. It's not exhaustive.
The CS told Sparks FM that the government's ambition of growing 15 billion trees by 2032 is to place Kenya on the map, not only because it's a constitutional obligation, but because it will create an opportunity for Kenyans to take advantage of carbon markets that are being processed.
We have our ambition to plant 15 billion trees in the next 10 years to up our tree cover to 30% from the current 12.3%. And it is a constitutional obligation. We are only expanding the scope of the aspiration set by the Constitution. It should be at least 10%. What we want Kenyans to know is that tree growing and ecosystem restoration can translate to more food on the table, jobs. And at the very bare minimum, we are saying we really want to ensure that our 15 billion trees, at the very bare minimum, 30% should be fruit trees.
On the tree planting exercise that saw Monday declared a public holiday, Tuya says Kenyans must think about the climate situation we experience and make tough decisions on what role we must all play in addressing climate crisis.
We really have to think critically about what the essence of greening our country is about. Everyone stop in this country and let's think about the climate situation we find ourselves in. We are moving from one cycle of severe drought after another, and we immediately jump into what we are now finding ourselves in. Of course, the debate is whether it's El Nino or not, but you can see the adverse effects of the short rains that we are in right now. And if there was anybody who did not believe that the climate crisis is here with us, I think that number should be diminishing.
And Embakasi East MP Babu Wino is asking the government to live up to its promises. In an interview with Vibes Radio, Wino says that the government has been hoodwinking Kenyans on issues to do with the economy, and that the bottom-up economic model has changed its meaning and is taking money away from Kenyans at the bottom.
Kama ni wewe ndio unaweza handle it. Why do we still experience hardships? Mbona ulikuna laumu serikali ya Uhuru, gharama ya maisha iko juu. Alafu saa hizi wewe unaipeleka juu zaidi. Hiyo ndio bottom up yenye tulikuwa tunaambiwa. Bei ya unga kutoka chini kwenda juu. Bei ya bidhaa, bei za vitu zote kutoka bottom kwenda up. It means that you are taking money from the bottom, taking it to up. Wow. And Kenyans are not seeing the importance of their money.
He says that the government should invest in the manufacturing sector, which will automatically create jobs.
Kama Kenya is divided, the economy ya Kenya is in those three sectors. Si useme primary sector agriculture. Nafanya nini? How can we improve agriculture in our country? There's a process called mercantilism. in economics ambayo inasema concentrate on mambo ya manufacturing. Grow industries in a nation. Ukiweka industries na urevive industries, zile mashuga industries, na utengeneze zingine, the moment umeweka hizo industries, wananchi watapata jobs, mayouth watapata jobs, economy ita grow. Si ni kweli? But the moment you kill industries, tunatoa chai hapa tunapeleka ngambo.
The government has kick-started the implementation of the pledge of providing smartphones to community health promoters in line with its commitment of delivering on the digital health agenda starting from the community level. Health Cabinet Secretary Susan Nahomicha, while touring Nyandarua County for inspection of JM Kariuki Hospital, presided over the distribution of mobile gadgets to CHPs to make them reachable and to enable them transmit and receive necessary information, instruction and advice. According to the CS, the move is aimed at saving Kenyans from the string of traveling to a health facility for basic screening and the treatment of minor ailments, as well as preventative and promotive healthcare. In September this year, the country embarked on the road towards the universal healthcare when President William Ruto flagged off 100,000 community health promoters at Uhuru Park Gardens in Nairobi. I'm Dennis Asato. Good morning.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
On the Thika Superhighway this morning, there is quite some of it, and it's going to take you out through towards the CBD. Muranga Road not doing too badly. Wangari Maathai not so bad. However, coming in from Limuru Road is where it's going to connect with all of that. It's very busy on Chiromo, and we're looking at James Gishoro with quite some traffic in and outbound. It's going to be busy. Already the spillover towards Red Hill Link Road is happening. And then coming in from Lower Kabete, very busy. There's a road called Getadhuru Road, and it connects with Ngesha Road. It's a mess. I don't know where those are, but it's a mess. If you're there, you know exactly what I'm talking about. We're also looking at lakes and rivers where roads used to be. General Mathenge is not fun at all.
You don't know where Getadhuru is?
Yeah?
You call it Kitisuru.
Kitisuru.
It is Getadhuru.
It is...
Getadhuru.
Getadhuru?
Yes.
It's Kitisuru.
Kitisuru.
So people could not pronounce Getadhuru?
Yeah.
All right.
Think about it. Eric educated us on these matters quite a while back. Remember when he told you of a place in the river called Varupaga? You call it Albagan.
Spice FM KE on X through the morning. I'm done.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room.
The only to nominate somebody. The true Kenyan spirit is usiende mahali mkono mtupu, right? And you need to go and keep visiting somebody who knows how to make the true, proper Kenyan tea, chai kweli, with Brookside Dairy Best. And the city has already told us how to make chai kweli.
That one, yes, I told you.
You visited somebody who has actually truly ever made chai kweli. You tried this formula the other day.
I made it.
It worked, eh?
Yes, Mama.
Yeah?
Mama,
Maji,
I made it.
Majani.
Boil.
Boil. Dairy Bests.
Inside.
Boil. Weka kichungi. Kikombe. Kunywa.
Mwaga. Kunywa. Very good.
Very good.
Big difference.
Very good. Now, next time guys are coming to visit you, tell them, can I make you some Kenyan tea?
Yes.
So this morning, we want to award 2 people. Who would you like to nominate to win this beautiful Brookside Dairy Best hamper so they'd be able to make the best chai, the chai kweli? You can go onto social media and tell us exactly who and why you pick them, and then you tell us. What does Amilioto? Amilioto is picking people.
Yeah. We have people. Right?
You're already picking some people?
Yeah.
Allah. Already?
People are not wasting time.
Already?
It's cold outside. Tea must be drunk at this hour.
What are they saying?
So, Dennis Munene talks about how his daughter at 12 loves cooking tea, and Amilioto has decided he's the one. And Nikonari Ranju also decided that his late mom, who enjoyed brewing tea, should be the winner of this hamper. It will be in her memory.
Oh, okay. So Nikonori Ranju now wins in memory of the mum.
Yes.
Okay. And Dennis Munene wins for the 12-year-old daughter.
Yes.
Okay. So those two, congratulations. You get the hamper. Amilioto will get in touch with you and tell you exactly how you are going to get that hamper. Courtesy of what? Courtesy of Brookside Dairy Best. Congratulations. Now, we have been summoned to a meeting. City.
Every house requires a day of housekeeping. Housekeeping where you sit and say, okay, we've done very well here. We need to now do even better. And in so doing, we need to look at this and that. And in true Kenyan style, there'll be issues 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, 9, that sort of thing. And that requires a bit of time. It is not an hour. It requires several hours for speeches to be made, questions to be asked and answered. And thereafter, life goes on.
Indeed. So we are stepping out to this meeting, and therefore we will leave you with a conversation. There's a conversation that we had here for 2 hours a couple of months back with the controller of budget, Dr. Margaret Nyakango, in which she was telling us about the workings of the Office of the Controller of Budget, what her mandate is, what the challenges that she's faced in that office, and what the wins have been. We want to revisit that conversation ahead of an invitation that we've sent out to Dr. Margaret Nyakango to come and join us again and tell us, okay, so far, we've even seen what you're talking about, the cost of living. So before she comes, how about we revisit what she said when she was last here? All right? This is it. Our conversation with the Honorable Dr. Margaret Nyakango. When was this?
Wow.
It was a while, eh?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Enjoy this one. We'll see you again tomorrow morning. Our next guest is in the studio. We've been talking about public finance management for a while, and it's good that this constitution has actually opened up that space of public finance management, and conversations in the country are now on how we are managing our public finances. One office that's created and placed centrally in public finance management is that of the Controller of Budget. The current holder of that office is CPA Dr. Margaret Nyakango. She's in the Situation Room. Good morning, Dr. Nyakango.
Good morning, Eric.
Welcome to the hot seat of the Situation Room.
Thank you very much for having me.
Karibu sana. Siti, you have the day's proverb.
I do. And our proverbs for the whole of this week ending tomorrow from the country of Libya. Okay. Like the sparrow, he wanted to imitate the pigeon's walk, but lost his own.
Like the sparrow,
he wanted to imitate the pigeon's walk.
He wanted to imitate the pigeon's walk.
Yes, but lost his own.
Dr. Nyakango is giving you that look of
okay, pigeons, walk, sparrow, surely.
Lost own. What do you understand from that proverb? Start with your just direct translation of what it's saying.
Okay, it's like people have different strengths, and so if you try to copy your neighbor or your friend, you may not succeed where they have succeeded. Yeah, at least from just hearing it, that is what I can think of. Yes.
So don't copy.
Don't copy.
Don't copy what others are doing.
Yes.
You are original the way you are. You are unique. Stick to your lane and you will actually move faster.
Right.
Okay.
So you agree with me?
Yeah, it sounds reasonable.
Yes.
It's like a very reasonable translation and interpretation of that proverb.
Yes.
But Siti is the mwalimu. Siti? Controller of budget, unapatia marks ngapi?
On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the maximum number of marks you can actually get, you've gotten 10. When we ask for your interpretation, you cannot possibly be wrong, because that is how the proverb resonates with you. Yes.
Thank you.
But pigeons play a very, very important role in the culture of Libyans. They're also into falconry. They are birds. It's a culture where birds have very specific roles. Yes. There are those that are bred for purposes of eating. Right. There are those that are bred for purposes of entertainment, pastime. So their culture is actually very rich in birds. So when you have a proverb, the proverb often points you to a country's culture, or the mention of animals. Like, for instance, you don't hear proverbs dealing with giraffes and elephants coming from the UK or the US.
No. True.
And neither do you hear proverbs of kangaroos coming from Africa. So, yes.
Depends on where you come from and what's around you.
Yes.
Okay. Now, the Constitution of Kenya 2010, we call it the very progressive constitution, one of the most progressive constitutions in this generation in the world, has created constitutional commissions and independent offices.
Right.
One of those is the Controller of Budget. Now, please introduce us to this Office of Controller of Budget, how it's established in law, and the functions and roles.
Thank you very much, Eric. The Office of the Controller of Budget is created under Article 228 of the Constitution of Kenya. You will observe that immediately after 229 creates the Office of the Auditor General. Yes. There's a bit of history to that. From our colonial history, we had the Office of the Controller and Auditor General. So the two offices were together. So for a long time, the controllership was under a department called the Exchequer. And then the other department of audit was audit. So the whole office was Exchequer and audit. But the committee of experts, having looked at the operations of that combined office, felt like there was a lacuna in terms of reporting on budget implementation. It was also felt that auditing coming at the tail end of the expenditure was missing out on what is happening in between. Not to mention that audits took rather long to come along. So the committee of experts then created the Office of the Controller of Budget to take care of those roles that they felt were not coming out in the combined setup. And they created 9 roles, and I'll be going through them. But that is the history, and the Auditor General still continues as an independent office, and then the Controller of Budget is another independent office, not commission. We are not called commissions.
It's an independent office.
Independent office.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I am the second in the lineup. There was one who did the first 8 years, and I'm supposed to do another 8 years. I'm on the 4th.
You're halfway through your term.
Yes. Yeah, almost done halfway.
What are those 7 functions?
Yes. Now, the functions then that were not coming through in the combined office, one is oversight. And by oversight, we are talking about like overseeing how budgets are being executed from the time the budgets are prepared all the way to when the financial statements are prepared. What happens in between? So my office does that through monitoring how the budget implementation is being done, approving withdrawals under Articles 204, 206, and 207. What these articles talk about is how the money moves from the consolidated fund, from the equalization fund, and from the county revenue fund. So there is a process of how the funds move. So to provide that oversight, I sign off each and every withdrawal from the consolidated fund to these other accounts to ensure that they are within the law before the funds are released.
Okay.
So that's one of them. Then there is the controlling role. And in the controlling role, I keep monitoring, comparing what is in the Appropriation Act vis-a-vis what is being reported back. And in my quarterly reports, I give that status. You will be seeing a lot of times we are talking of absorption rates.
Yeah.
So we are comparing what the targets were vis-a-vis what is actually happening. Then, incidental to the oversight and the controlling, I report. And this is a mandate of reporting to Parliament, because Parliament is my boss. I don't have any other boss. So at the end of every quarter, I collect data from all the spending entities, both for national and county governments. And I compile the quarterly reports and submit them to Parliament before I can make them public to anybody else. Other than that, I have an advisory role. I advise all governments, both national and county, on the budget making process, following the PFM Act and the Constitution, following the provisions of prudent transparency and accountability, and tell them what is expected of them, even as I report on an ongoing basis. Incidental to these roles is an investigation role. Every so often, things may go wrong. People either don't do the right thing or they do the right thing in the wrong way. And as far as budget implementation is concerned, my office will investigate either on our own, or sometimes we get complaints from the public or other institutions, and we investigate. That is also our role. Now, disputes arise. Especially in the county governments, we have the county assembly, and then we have the executive. And every so often, there are misunderstandings, especially relating to budget, allocations, where the projects are. And my office then has the mandate of mediating. So I do conciliation, negotiations, and ensure that the parties come to an understanding so that they can move on. You may have heard that sometimes the budget is not even passed because of those disputes. So I have that role. Other than that, I do public sensitization. Either I go out to the people, but sensitization takes place all the time. What I'm doing right now is public sensitization. When my reports come out, we partner with the press, the print media, TV, all the media, and ensure that the message gets out. That's what the people are reading out there. So then I have a monitoring role, and monitoring is incidental to the reporting function. As I said before, we receive information that is self-reported from the spending entities. So what we do every so often is to actually go out to the ground. So I send my teams out there to the counties, and they go to the sites where projects have been reported, and we assess, we evaluate whether the figures we've been given agree with what we are seeing on the ground. Other than that, we also monitor processes. For instance, lately we have been monitoring the program-based budget ensuring that the outcomes that are reflected in the budgets are being adhered to, and or they can be achieved at the end of the day. And lastly, of the main mandates is to enforce budget ceilings. We know that in national government, budget ceilings are passed by Parliament, and at the counties, they are passed by the county assemblies before the budgets can become operational. Then they become an act, an appropriation act. It is the role of my office to ensure that they keep within those limits. So those are like, there is a ceiling to everything. And my office then, while reporting, we ensure that those limits are being kept. Also, when they make their requisitions, we ensure that they are within those limits. So those are the 9 key roles.
Can you give us an example of a budget ceiling?
Yes.
Give us an example of...
Okay. One example, for instance, is that they must budget 30% of the entire budget to development. So when they are budgeting, I must make sure that they have allocated. Now, when it comes to spending, that's another story. At the point of budgeting, I must make sure that 30% has been allocated to development. Then when I report on a quarterly basis, I ensure that I am monitoring the progress of the 30%. 70% is on recurrent. Now, of the 70% recurrent, no more than 35% should go to personal emoluments, that is salaries and wages. So again, that is a ceiling that we keep reporting on. There is a lot of default, but that's a story for another day. I was giving you one. So you're
one
able
of the to see at that point when the budget is being made that the 70% that's been allocated to recurrent expenditure, 35%, no more than 35%, will go to personal emoluments.
Right.
The salaries, wages, does it also include pension?
No. The salary is gross. So out of the 70%, even the pension is in, even whatever else, even house allowance, all those everything components that make the gross pay. Yes.
Okay. Dr. Nyakango, you talk about Parliament having the final say in then what you will then go ahead and release.
Yes.
Is it at all possible that somebody apart from Parliament would make a demand on the Office of the Controller of Budget for money to be released for something, and then you would go ahead and acquiesce to that?
Well, it is not as simple as that, but the law provides under Article 223 of the Constitution that something can come up that was not foreseen and has not been budgeted for. In which case, then the spending entity will approach the Cabinet Secretary for Finance. That is the only one who has that authority, and explain what this matter is that was not budgeted for and needs to be financed. So once the Cabinet Secretary gives that approval, the spending entity must ensure that they provide details of this spending within 2 months to Parliament, so that Parliament can pick up that particular aspect of the spending and allow it to be appropriated. Now, we have what we call supplementary appropriation. So about midway through the year, that is December, we have the first supplementary, and then later towards the end of the financial year again we'll have supplementary 2. So it is at these times that any spending that may have been done under Article 223 is then discussed in Parliament and allowed to go under the supplementary.
Okay.
So once the Parliament approves the supplementary budget, then that particular spending now becomes part of the budget. Yes.
So it's regularized.
It is regularized. Yes.
And the only thing
it's
that you need now for you to approve the withdrawal of those funds is this application by the CS Treasury.
Yes. The spending entity will apply to the CS Treasury, and the CS Treasury will approve and then send me that information and say you can approve this withdrawal pending parliamentary regularization.
So then it is not possible for money to be spent at the national or county level without your approval.
That's right.
Okay.
Yes.
So if a situation has arisen whereby, there's not enough, and we say that money has been spent at this level, it is not, and forgive me if I'm putting words in your mouth, but it is not likely that money would have been spent at the national level or at the county level had it not gone through approval by the controller of budget.
Okay, but there is a caveat to that.
Okay.
Now, we have monies that are not received in the consolidated fund. Yes. We have, for instance, the road development levy. That is not received in the consolidated fund. We have the railway development levy. We have a lot of grants and loans that are not banked in the consolidated fund.
Where do they go?
They are spent directly with the authority of the National Treasury.
Okay.
Spent directly.
Yes. Now, for this specific, like the funds I'm telling you, there would usually be an act that governs that particular funding.
Say Railway Development Fund.
Yes, yes. So you will find that the CS National Treasury and the PS National Treasury are mentioned in that particular law.
Yeah.
So it will be like a specific law. So you'll find, for instance, that the money that is spent by Kenya Roads Board, for instance, doesn't go through my office.
Okay.
Yes.
So this is like, because we see those signs on the roads.
Yes.
This road has been maintained by the
fuel levy.
Fuel levy.
Yes.
So that levy, we pay it when we are consuming fuel at the point of purchase. That money goes straight to the National Treasury.
It goes straight to the National Treasury and to the roads boards.
And then the roads board through, of course, the roads ministry.
Yes, without going through the control of budget. But so as I was finishing, was to say that as long as the funds have been received in the consolidated fund, nothing will go out without going through my office.
Okay.
Yes.
Do we have an idea as to how much money is collected in this road development levy, railway? And do we have audited details of how it is that it's spent? And do you have a say in any other detail? It doesn't come to you, yes, but you are the control of budget, and these are national functions.
All those details are on the National Treasury website. Yes. They prepare financial statements on those funds that they handle directly. And they have no responsibility, so to say, to report that to me. But I can always go back to the website and also see them the way other citizens see them.
Is there a reason why this doesn't come through your office?
There is no reason. But that is the law as it is now. You see, they are called specific funds. And now if you go to the PFM, the Public Finance Management Act, you will see that for those special funds, it is the National Treasury that is responsible for them. We've been asking, we've been following and saying, if the Constitution says that all receipts to government need to be received in the consolidated fund and then spent, why is it that then these funds have continued to operate outside the system? Yes, I think it's a subject.
You have asked the question that I was asking.
Yes.
You see, when we hear of budgets and we hear of expenditure and we hear of spending, I personally am a little confused because I actually don't know how exactly do you spend, because you say it has to pass through your office. please just walk us through. Money leaves consolidated fund. For example, it goes to the county. How does it go? I know it isn't put on a donkey and it doesn't walk to the various counties.
Right.
That much I know. So, what happens? It's going, okay, it has arrived at the county. This account that the county has, when they want to spend, how do you monitor this and how do you know that this money is actually being put to the use? Or when it gets to the county at that level, then you're not involved. How does all this work?
Okay, it's very simple. Today I'm gonna break it down for you. So what happens is that the money that is in the consolidated fund is of course what we have budgeted for. At the very beginning, they're just figures. You know, the money is just in figures. So we are talking about, say, the budget
3.67 trillion
for 23-24 financial year.
Yes.
So as it is now, those are just figures. There is no money to it. What does that mean? It means that we must start collecting revenue. There are two ways in which we get money into the consolidated fund. Well, mostly. We borrow or we make our revenue.
We raise taxes.
Now, the Finance Act shows us all those ways that we shall use to collect the money that will go to the consolidated fund. Yeah. Then, on the other side, we have the spending aspect, and so each spending entity has a spending plan, which, like I said, the current law is program-based budgeting. So you must have certain outcomes, then you break them down into outputs and then into activities, and then you cost those activities. So that's what gives you your budget.
Right.
Now, we have the national government and we have the county government. So you've heard that there'll usually be a division of Revenue Act.
Yes.
So under that division of Revenue Act, the counties will be given a certain portion.
385 billion.
Yes, 385, for instance, the current year. And then the balance, the trillions, of course, you know about the national government. Of the national government trillions, about 70% will go to public debt. And then the 30% will be on both development and recurrent.
Yes.
Then in the counties, each particular county is a government. It's a fully fledged government. And once they know how much they'll get from the equitable share, they also have a portion that they raise from own source revenue. So they do have their own mini tax system within the county, and they raise own source revenue. You may also have read about that.
Yes.
So those two added together form the budget, the ins and outs of the county. So let's look at how the money moves. For the national government, they'll come with requisitions for each ministry, and these ministries have what we call a disbursement plan. The ministries have state corporations and sagas under them, but I don't deal directly with the state corporations. So you will find which state corporation can we think of which is under a ministry. No, let's take KRA. KRA is under the National Treasury.
The National Treasury.
So when KRA needs funds to spend, they put a request to the National Treasury. And then the National Treasury also picks another state corporation, let's say Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, from economic planning. They will aggregate those, and they'll come to my office and tell me, we need to make these transfers to these
two entities.
But it will come as a National Treasury request.
Okay.
Yes?
The parent ministry.
The parent ministry.
Okay.
I give only to the parent ministry. So I'll sign off what is called a withdrawal. The meaning of the withdrawal is that that proportion of funds then moves from the consolidated fund to the National Treasury account.
Okay.
And all this is done on the IFMIS platform. Yeah, that is where the records are kept. That's where the movements are being done. So once I sign,
And you're in charge of IFMIS.
The National Treasury is in charge of IFMIS. But all these records are on the financial system. But it gets a bit more complicated.
Is your signature electronic or is your signature manual?
Right now it is purely manual.
So it's brought to you, you sign.
Yes.
And then that initiates now withdrawal from
movement.
the consolidated fund through IFMIS
Yes.
into the National Treasury's account.
Yes. And the real cash is moved by the Central Bank of Kenya, because they get a copy of what I sign. So what I sign is like a check. It is delivered to the Central Bank of Kenya, and they are told the controller has approved so much. So in terms of the banking, the real cash now moves to the National Treasury account.
Okay.
Now once it moves there, I no longer have any business to do with it.
Okay.
Now the accounting officer of the National Treasury takes over. The money is now in their account.
These are the principles.
So they first of all, they would start by making transfers. What is called transfers are not payments. They are just transferring to the state corporations and the SAGAs, who will also be having their own accounting officer, and they'll now make the real payments.
Okay.
So National Treasury PS transfers to KRA.
Yes.
Planning PS, well, now we only have one PS.
Yes.
Transfers to the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics.
Yes.
Those two now receive their money.
Yes.
The boss at KRA now starts paying.
Yes.
For now consumption, salaries and whatever development.
Yes.
And the boss at KNBS makes the payment.
Right.
All that could not have happened had the controller of budget not authorized the first transfer from the consolidated fund to the
Right.
National Treasury's account.
Right.
Okay.
So how then do I monitor this? Now, every end of quarter, just before the quarter ends, I send out templates to each of the spending entities, and I tell them I want a return of what you spend and how you spend it. So they send me these returns. But I don't just trust them on the face of it. I now go to IFMIS.
Why ever not?
Very, very wise.
I go to IFMIS and I say, oh, you are saying you paid this. The transactions are all on IFMIS. So what my officers are busy doing is confirming.
Counter checking.
Yes, that what they are giving us is actually on IFMIS.
Okay.
Once we find them, we then compile the quarterly report, and that is what you read.
Okay.
Yes.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Chilled Spice.
We love to share our cultures, and the one thing that unites us all, that celebrates precious moments, nurtures our Kenyan spirit, welcomes, and even inspires. Our language does all of this and more. The more
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Can we come back to budget now? We talked about 2023, 24, 24, which is where we are currently.
Right.
And we've understood that in the budget, you've said that there are two ways in which you get money into the consolidated fund. You borrow or you raise taxes.
Right.
All that money comes into the fund. We are also of the understanding that money that is borrowed will only be used for development projects. Is that so in Kenya?
That's what the law says.
That's what the law says. Now, is it at all possible from all that you've told us, that money that is in the consolidated fund that has been borrowed will be paid out for anything else apart from development projects in this current scenario?
Yes, it's possible.
How? If the law says that you borrow for development, is it possible that borrowed funds can be paid out for something else apart from development? How is that possible?
Well, what happens is that the cash available will determine what can be paid at any particular time. And very often what I have observed is that if the National Treasury has not collected enough, remember that the KRA is under the National Treasury. So every time they make a requisition to my office, they must show me how they have raised the cash. So literally they'll show me the receipts from the KRA, what they have collected on any particular day.
Yeah.
So like yesterday I was signing, they gave me what they had collected the previous day.
You must see the money before you approve it.
I must see the money. Yes, before I approve. And I must see them in form of, they send me copies of we call it miscellaneous receipt.
Okay.
And also vouchers, they prepare vouchers. So what has happened so often?
Do you check with the central bank to ensure that money they speak of is actually in the central bank?
When they give me the miscellaneous receipts, yes, there is a way I can cross-reference. Okay. Yes, I can cross-check.
Okay.
So once then the balance is okay, there'll be so many requests at any particular time. And what I've found out, for instance, there'll be requests from the ministries. Let's say for the purpose of argument that we get requests worth 300 million. And then they look at what KRA has collected and they find KRA has only collected 270 for purposes of argument. So there is a shortfall of 30
million.
And in this shortfall, they then find out that the previous day they also received 50
requests for
50 million, say, from World Bank.
Okay.
And it is waiting to go to a development project. But they need to finance the 300 million that was requested.
Because it's end month and it's salaries.
Yeah, and it is salaries.
Okay.
And the counties want to close down. So what they have done, a lot of times, they then take part of what has come in as loan funds and pay it out. And it is, it is something we've been arguing
over.
Is
this procedural?
It is procedural in terms of cash management.
Okay.
But they are supposed to then to collect and refund, so to say. It is like you taking from one pocket to another. But over time, as the requirements have been increasing, we have seen ourselves get more and more into loan funding to do recurrent expenditure, to the extent that sometimes we've lost track. We've lost track as to where the loans went and how far the revenues went. And so it is a grey area.
How is it possible to lose
now.
track, though? Let's look at this example that you've given. It's a very nice example. The requests that have come from ministries, 300 million shillings, right? The collections and the receipts that you've been presented with for how much they've collected, 270. We have a shortfall of 30. But then we also received some World Bank loan of 50 million shillings.
Yes.
For you to approve this 300 million shilling request, you first must see the money.
Yes.
Right? So it means that you are agreeing with the ministries and the National Treasury to dip the hands into this pocket called loan.
Not exactly.
When you approve expenditure of 300 million shillings, knowing that there's a shortfall of 30 million shillings, you've approved that some of this loan money be used in, let's call it short-term use to cover this
No, now you are mixing up the role of the bank vis-a-vis the role of the controller of budget.
Okay.
For me, all I need to know is there is sufficient balance to
in
service.
the bank.
Yes.
It doesn't matter
Yes.
what.
It doesn't matter where it's coming from.
It doesn't matter where it's coming from.
I see.
Yes. But the central bank, as the bankers, they are supposed to compartmentalize. Yeah? So that is not for me to say no.
So you only check
but I do query
CR balance in the consolidated fund.
Yes.
That's it.
Yes.
So what's the point of asking for these collection receipts then from KRA to confirm the miscellaneous receipts?
Yeah.
What's the point?
To know that it is there. Yeah?
All you
that the
need is-
CBK actually has a balance that can cover. It is like, let me again give an example. You have a personal checkbook.
Yes.
And you want to pay school fees.
Yes.
But part of what is in your account is a SACCO loan, which you want to use for constructing a house.
Yes.
Part of it is your salary.
Yeah.
Part of it is probably rental income. You know, there are many types of income, but they have all been banked in the
one account.
That same account.
Yes.
So, if you take some of the rental money and pay school fees, in the short term, there would be nothing wrong.
Yeah.
But in the longer term, you have to say what were the objectives of this rental income. I was supposed to say renovate the property so that I can get more money.
More money.
So you have to put back that money where it belongs. So when we talk of cash flow management, cash flow management is the very short term to achieve a certain short-term objective. But if you go to the law, for instance, now in the PFM Act, you will find a sentence which says, in the medium term, you must ensure that loans are only used for development. So do not forget that term of the medium term. Medium term means that in the short term, you may have challenges, but you are not supposed to extend those challenges, over the medium term.
Dr.
You are supposed to correct that.
Now, we say you're supposed to correct, but then could this be the problem that could be faced by Kenya today? That correction over years has not taken place. And so what you find is that, sure, in the account there's this money. You know what it's supposed to be used for. If you use it in the short term for another purpose, either two things should have happened. One, you should have explained what happened, or two, you should have put the money back when it comes from other sources. Are we seeing a situation where that money has not been put back and loans continually being paid, taken from where they should not have been taken from? Is that the real situation?
That is actually the real situation. You nailed it. Over the medium term, we have not re-examined where we may have used this money for what we call budget support.
Yeah.
The money has gone into recurrent expenditure, but we have not then gone back and said, wait, we used this for this recurrent purpose, but we need to put it back because the project needs to go on. So there are situations where projects have been abandoned or not even started at all.
And yet there was money allocated for
And yet there was money borrowed
for
that purpose.
For that purpose. But then
and when it comes now to repay, we are repaying through the nose, so to say.
So money is being repaid that was borrowed for things that have actually not been done. I think it's a little bit more than just a worrying situation, wouldn't you say?
It is. It is very worrying. It is very worrying. And that is what we've been looking at that with the Auditor General to find out if we can retrace our steps, because it's been a long time.
But how? I'm still confused here, Dr. Nyakang.
No, just say it.
You are an independent office.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Created by the Constitution, supported by the PFM Act and others. Your role, Controller of Budget, Article 228. 4 The controller of budget shall oversee the implementation of the budgets of the national and county governments by authorizing withdrawals from public funds under Articles 204, 206, 207. Those are the ones that you said were creating these funds. Consolidated Fund, the Equalization Fund, and the County Revenue Fund. So you authorized expenditure,
not expenditure, withdrawal,
right? Sorry, you authorize withdrawal by overseeing implementation of the budget.
Yes,
you have a budget here. You can see this is the appropriation budget, recurrent. This is appropriation budget, development,
right?
And this is the Finance Act. This is how the money is coming. This is how the money is going. When you receive this request to spend, you must satisfy yourself that it is in accordance with this law, right?
Yeah.
And this is the Appropriations Act and the Finance Act, and that there is money here. By the time we are saying we have run amok, we have gone beyond the short term to the medium term, should your office not be the first one to detect the red flags?
Yes, it is. And it's been reporting.
So when you detect the red flags, what does the law allow you to do? Aside from reporting, because you're overseeing and you're controlling, does the law not allow you to say, freeze,
stop it,
show me, before I authorize for you to pay salaries, show me tax revenues that can pay salaries?
No, the law does not allow me to do that. So, Eric, I would like to refer you to two pieces of legislation.
Yes.
First of all, I would like you to read Article 228 thoroughly. Then you will read the Control of Budget Act of 2016. And having read those two, then you read the PFM Act. The PFM Act also has regulations which show you the house of how to do what has been recommended.
Yes.
And when you look at those, I do not have the role of finding out what goes into the consolidated fund. My role is to release what is in the consolidated fund.
You only deal with what's in the pot.
Exactly.
How it got there is not your business.
It's not my business. It's not my mandate.
Okay.
That is the mandate of the National Treasury.
Okay.
So what the law has done is that for each of the offices that are created, each one is given a mandate. So this one will end here, and this one takes over, and then the next one takes over. So when expenditure takes place, and my office has reported on budget implementation, I don't audit.
Yes.
Because then Article 229 kicks in.
Audit of budget.
And then the Auditor General comes in to tell us what exactly was the money spent on, and was it spent lawfully?
Okay.
So let's not forget, by trying to think that the Control of Budget is an all-embracing office which can do collection and do withdrawal and then audit the same. So that is where we go wrong. Don't forget, the government banker is the Central Bank of Kenya. They also have their mandate. So you have to know, because they bank both for the counties and for the national government. So you have to know what is the mandate of the central bank and where does it end.
Okay.
And where does the next one come in.
When a request comes to you,
yes,
and maybe then in line with this question, when a request comes to your office, under which circumstances can you say, no, hold on, we are not going to release this because, or are we saying, so long as there is money in the consolidated fund, I am going to approve? What we are looking for, the only standard requirement that you're looking for is availability of funds.
No.
Or is there a situation that would arise where you say, all right, myself and the Auditor General have some questions. We have seen some abnormalities. And based on that, we are not going to approve the release of this fund that you request because of 1, 2, 3. Do situations like that arise?
Very, very many. And every single day, I'm busy rejecting requisitions until they comply with the law. And the law, as given to me, is very broad. Although I'm guided by the Constitution and the PFM Act, the law is very wide. So there are very, very many reasons why I reject, not why I would reject, why I reject requisitions. And there is a report I did in 2022 because, say, the counties were complaining.
Those ones are not happy with you at all.
That I'm rejecting far too many requisitions because I tell them to stick to the straight and narrow.
You don't want them to use manual payroll. You said there's money being paid outside of payroll. You said some of these things a couple of weeks ago.
Absolutely. So you know that I do reject. And it's not only that. I reject requisitions. Even right now, as I'm talking, there are rejected requisitions on my desk, still awaiting additional information or completely rejected. So it's not just about having sufficient money. There are many ways that the entities can flout the law.
Okay, can I go to a bit of a larger issue here?
Yes.
Again, we see money, right, approved by yourself to pay for loans, which you've told us here.
Yes.
That we do not know what this money was used for.
Yeah.
That's already established. And here we are as a country paying huge in terms of interest. And that money has been approved by your office for payment on something that we do not know where it went. Would that not be something that you would be able to say, hang on a minute, we're paying for a loan that we don't know the origin of the initial payment for in the first place?
Whom would I be telling, wait a moment, that is perhaps what we should be answering. Whom do I tell?
Who's requesting for this loan to be paid?
Yeah.
So,
who places that request?
I'm asking that as a rhetorical question.
Yeah.
Because I report to Parliament every quarter, telling them things that are not right. And the way it is supposed to be is that then Parliament needs to pick up that and run with it. Now, what you probably would be asking, do they discuss those reports?
Do they understand the reports?
Do they understand them in the first place?
I'm always there to explain. But I can tell you that the last time I was invited to discuss, say, county reports was in 2021.
Okay.
And those reports are full of the kind of questions that you're talking about. Constantly telling them this is wrong, this needs to be corrected, the public debt is going the wrong way, we are paying this for recurrent and not development. All those reports are there. If you came to my office, you'll find them. I can show them to you.
Have you ever rejected withdraw from the consolidated fund monies that were going to pay for a certain loan, who during your other exercise of your other responsibilities, and this is monitoring of projects, you went on the ground, you found the budget had appropriated money for construction of a certain road or a certain dam. There is a loan to be paid for where the money to go and construct that dam was coming from. My officers on the ground have not seen a dam, but there's a request here to pay interest for this loan.
Yes.
Have you ever said, no, I am not authorizing this because there's no dam on the ground?
Yes, I have.
And then what happens?
I mean, then they don't get that money. I have actually cancelled requisitions completely. They don't see the light of day. Yes. Can I give you an example?
Please.
Last year, a requisition came to pay for some roads. And this requisition was to be made from the annuity fund. Now, the annuity fund is a special fund that was created by Parliament to take care of road projects. But it had a whole set of conditions on how you spend from the annuity fund. So, when the Cabinet Secretary for Finance came for money to spend from that annuity fund, I asked them to give me the audited financial statements to show that they had actually been using this money for the intended purpose. They were not able to produce. I cancelled that requisition. It was 1.9 billion. It is still outstanding as we speak, because they have not satisfied.
And attracting penalties.
No, it is a requisition does not attract penalties.
Okay, it's just an annuity fund. Okay.
Yes, it was the annuity fund. They still have not explained to me how they used the funds in the annuity fund. So I'm waiting for the Auditor General to finalize the audits and bring out how this fund was being used. So I can refuse. I have refused many times.
So what I'm hearing you say, Madam Auditor General, Controller of Budget rather, is that the Office of the Controller of Budget prepares quarterly reports.
Yes.
There are many of those quarterly reports where the Controller of Budget has said there's money that has been appropriated for expenditure here, money that has been spent here, but there are red flags as to the source of this fund, or there are loans that have been taken for a specific project, but I do not see the expenditure going into that specific project.
Right.
Similarly, the Auditor General has raised red flags and said there were loans that were taken for use in certain projects, but on the ground, no such projects, or there are questions as to the utilization of this debt.
Right.
And all those reports have gone to Parliament.
Yes.
Now, in our laws, from our Constitution to the Public Finance Management Act, to the Control of Budget Act, to the Auditor General Act and the others, when such things happen, when we do not have prudent financial management of our resources, who's answerable? All of you offices who are in the PFM.
No.
The National Treasury, KRA, National Treasury, the Central Bank of Kenya, the Controller of Budget, the Auditor General, Parliament. Who's ultimately responsible?
Each of the institutions you have mentioned has a mandate. I repeat, they have a mandate.
Yeah.
And they are responsible as far as that mandate is concerned. And that mandate is verifiable, even by the public. They know exactly what each one is supposed to do. KRA is supposed to collect the revenues. They do not approve withdrawals. So, if they don't collect to the required level, they are responsible.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yes.
Then you will come to my office. I approve withdrawals. If I approve withdrawals that are not in line with the law, because that is what I've been mandated, I become responsible. If I don't report on a timely basis on the findings of the budget implementation, I become responsible. Then you move to the next. So the auditor will give an opinion. I do not give the opinion. So whilst I may say that the absorption of your budget has been very poor, and what that means is that we may not achieve the objectives that we set out at the beginning of the budget. That's as far as I can go. But the auditor then needs to come in and tell us if the money was not absorbed for the outcomes that we expected, where did it go?
She needs to be able to trace.
Yes. She needs to be able to trace exactly where it went.
Okay.
So what we do, everybody has reporting timelines. For instance, I report after every quarter. So, like now, I've already reported on the quarter ending 31st March. Currently, since the year has now ended, 30th June, I've already sent out letters to receive the returns for 30th June. So by end of July, I should have delivered in Parliament what happened in terms of budget, not in terms of expenditure. Please do not mix the two.
It's in terms of budget.
In terms of budget.
Okay.
I'll be telling Parliament this is what happened to the budget. That is very important because it is supposed to help Parliament when they are passing the budgets to then analyze and say, what did the executors of the budget do with the money that we gave them? So it is supposed to be a feedback loop telling them, this is how the budget was executed. Please make corrective measures.
Welcome to Spice FM, the best exclusive radio station bringing you the best mix of the best music ever.
Thank you very much, Eric, and it's good to be at the Situation Room.
Always a pleasure coming here. This is the most challenging interview panel in Kenya. You guys are very well informed, and as you can see, Charles today, very philosophical.
To be poor in this country is the greatest sin you can commit, not just from a legal perspective, but from life generally. Yeah. It is very, very skewed.
We've just heard on the floor of Parliament, just most recently, a leader within the ODM saying that Sisi ni ng'ombe is a baba.
Yeah.
Which means that you are willing to be milked dry. Hapo.
You cannot force me to believe. I'll give way. If it's land that I'm told to return to you, I will. Okay? Because the court has said so. But I'll continue saying, watu wamenirusha. That's all that I'm doing.
This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
You say some things still waiting for approval of Parliament.
Yes.
And so the idea is that these things have not happened.
Yes.
This is 223.
It's like that.
Expenditure has happened, but
expenditure has happened, but Parliament has not approved.
So how does that happen and still be a position whereby it is squeaky clean? Because if it has not been approved and expenditure has happened, then this has happened outside of the law. So would that be called a fraudulent expenditure?
No, it is not fraudulent.
What happens here?
What happened is that when the National Treasury presented these two to Parliament, the parliamentarians were not satisfied with the reasons that were being given.
The explanation given.
But the question is...
Yes. So, if I may finish, they requested certain committees to investigate
further.
To authenticate what was done with the money.
And is that pending approval, or is there saying that there can be conditional expenditure waiting for this investigation to be completed? Because...
Let me help you there. Remember, it's Article 223, where there's supplementary appropriation, where the Constitution allows the National Treasury to spend...
And
pending
approval
based on certain conditions.
Yeah, but expenditure has happened.
Okay.
So they'll spend, but then go to Parliament and now report and say, by the way, we had to spend because, this and this.
Are there special circumstances that
those special
allows
circumstances?
For this? Are there special circumstances that allow for this sort of expenditure? And if there are, what are these circumstances?
There are as many as the number of people that are available
on earth.
That I can tell you because in the last, the last government, there were all sorts of reasons why people would ask. They would say there is a function and it was not budgeted for. So give us Article 223. But we would need to go now to my records because they are
many.
Extensive. Yes, they are very many. So what has happened rather lately, this matter of telecom and the maize subsidy were very controversial.
Politically controversial.
Yes. And we were moving from one government to another one.
Yes.
So these were done by the previous government. And now the current one was not satisfied that whatever was done correctly. As at the time the supplementary 2 was being passed, the investigation reports from the committees were not ready yet. So they have still remained in limbo. So as it is, in accounting terms, they are like liabilities now.
Because you've closed the financial year.
Yes.
There's money that has been spent.
Yeah.
And it has not been
And this has not been incorporated into
the budget.
Into the supplementary budget. So these monies are outside the system.
So legally, what
until the reports
come in.
Come in, yes, and then decisions will have to be made.
And what if the reports don't come in?
There is no such thing like reports not coming in.
What if the reports come in and they say we do not approve?
The parliamentary committees that have been commissioned to do these reports, for instance, the agriculture something committee must tell Parliament where the 4 billion went. They must. It's not optional. They must report.
You're saying there is no situation where a committee has been tasked to go into the details of such a matter and they have not given a report. They always give a report.
They will always give a report. Never mind the quality of the report, they will always give a report.
Okay.
And then after that,
in fact,
Parliament
for the
will either
telecom,
vote to accept the report or reject the report.
Exactly.
So now what happens if Parliament rejects it, having said that such money was used
it was okay.
outside of approval?
It means that the money should be recovered.
Okay.
Technically, that's what we are saying. If they say that we reject the explanations that you are giving, please pay back the money.
Who are they telling?
The ministry that made the payment.
Now,
the accounting officer that made the actual payment will now have to find out how the money can be refunded to the consolidated fund.
Madam, there's a question I have to ask now. There was a case in March. These same matters we are discussing, and we in the media reported that you had been under duress, that pressure had been put on you with regards to a certain payment of 15 billion. Everything you've said about you rejecting requests coming to your office and then not meeting the master that is required, it means there's a slew of very unhappy people who would have wanted certain things to happen, but they haven't happened. Now, that, in my mind, constitutes pressure. Now, what was reported? Was it reported accurately, first of all?
Yes. If you watched when I was being interviewed by the committee, I said that I need time to satisfy myself, to ask for documentation which will give me the satisfaction that what is being requested for is correct.
Is legitimate.
But now, time-wise, here is somebody telling you that you need to do this in the next 20 minutes. I mean, does that give you enough time?
No.
No, it doesn't.
No.
And in a way, that person may make you do something you didn't want to do because of the time element. And this is the time they were saying that if this particular company was not paid within a certain time, they would resign a decision. I'm sure you may have read
something
the
like
rest
that.
of it.
I did read.
The rest of it. So, duress in terms of time is as bad as being told to kill someone against your wish. Because you have to be given sufficient time to verify, to check, and satisfy yourself. So, this duress was there, and you must have seen because there were press clippings of the conversations that went on. And further to that, I hope you did not stop reading after that.
No, I didn't.
Because all those parties, each of those parties that were mentioned, were interviewed by the same two committees.
Yes.
The ICT committee and the finance the finance committee.
Yes.
Yes.
You see, you mentioned that the entity you report to your boss is Parliament.
Yes.
Could they not come in and intervene in such a matter and protect you?
Within 20 minutes?
No.
So what are you talking about?
I'm actually asking this very simple question.
At what point did you want Parliament to come in?
Did you report this matter as it was happening to Parliament?
Yes. Yes, I did.
Now, what did they do? That's really what I'm asking.
That is what they are still doing. They are investigating. They are investigating what happened.
But let me ask you.
In fact, they have given the matter to EACC.
To continue with further investigations.
To continue with further
I
investigations.
think just following up with what CT is asking.
Yes.
At this point, you are being put under duress. If you don't authorize this expenditure now, we have found a suitable buyer, but this suitable buyer has many other suitable suitors, all right, for their money.
Yes.
So if you don't approve this, then we'll lose this deal.
Yes.
And we'll lose the money.
Yes.
I mean, this is government. This is not marikiti where someone is telling you
horse trading.
Nunua sahi haraka haraka ama niuzie huyu. This is government. You are a finance expert. You are CPA, soon to be FCPA, I'm sure, right? From your experience, is this how really a government makes decisions?
No,
that you know what, tumepata deal mzuri. If we don't buy, kuna mtu mwingine. It's like we are being sold a piece of land. Hapa 50 by 100 iko next kwa hii ni control of budget, pande ile ingine ni general of military. Hii land hot cake usiponunua sahi by jioni nauzia CT. Surely.
But Eric,
that is precisely why each of those people was interviewed. So did you watch what they said?
There was no due. There was
because
no urgency.
I wasn't paying. I didn't make the payment. I approved the withdrawal.
Yeah.
Now, if I'm sure you've been listening all along, as I told you, what is the role of my office? I will approve a withdrawal, but the accounting officer will make the payment. For instance, I don't know who was paid. No. I am dealing with the requests of the Cabinet Secretary, National Treasury. I asked for the contract document. They gave it to me. Yeah. Now they were telling me you must do it within a very short time, which is what I was protesting. I was like, you need to give me time to read this contract fully and see whether all the items have been satisfied. They didn't give me that particular time, which is the reason why they are now being investigated. Everybody must now say, why did you convert this into a market? Because the market was not in my office. The market was at the National Treasury, who were making the payment. So Parliament wanted to know, for instance, at what point was the payment made?
But then
not the withdrawal made, the payment made.
But we have placed a watchdog in the name of Office of the Controller
Eric,
of
please
Budget.
Don't mix things. Can we make progress?
Let us make this progress.
Don't mix things. Don't mix withdrawals and payments. You know, I can approve a withdrawal today and the payment won't be made in the next 3 months. Are you aware of that?
That's true.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So by the time you're approving
approving
withdrawal,
the transfer does not mean go and pay. Now, who has the particulars of the payment? The accounting officer.
The accounting officer.
So who's the accounting officer in this case?
The PS Treasury.
The PS Treasury, thank you. So you cannot keep coming back to the one. Okay, let's look at it Kiafrika. There is the one who allowed the cow into the pen.
Yes.
Then there is the one who will graze the cow.
Yes.
For the whole day.
Yes.
So now you keep coming back and saying
you allowed
fine,
the cow.
You allowed the cow into the field. Yes. You don't want to know how the cow then went
and
chewed and crossed over and chewed somebody else's maize. So I think let's not lose the bigger picture to say at the point that the CS Treasury came to me